President Trump will travel across the country to Anchorage, Alaska for a bilateral meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin. The brutal war between Russia and Ukraine broke out under Joe Biden's incompetent leadership, but President Trump is determined to try and end this war and stop the killing. As the president has said over and over again, his strong preference will always be for peace and partnership whenever those outcomes can possibly be achieved. There is no leader in the world right now who has been more committed to preventing wars or ending them than President Donald Trump. Just look at what took place here at the White House last Friday, when President Trump hosted the Azerbaijani president and Armenian prime minister and got the two leaders to sign a historic joint declaration for peace, ending a decades-long conflict that disrupted the region and claimed countless lives. In other news, we continue to see positive economic reports across the board. Today's CPI report revealed that inflation beat market expectations once again, and inflation remains stable. Overall, inflation has run at a 1.9 average annual pace in President Trump's first 6 months in office. Prices for everyday goods continue to decline. Energy prices fell in July, including gasoline, which is down nearly 10% over last year, and propane, which is down 2.5% over last year as well. Egg prices fell once again in July and are down 20% since President Trump took office. Shelter inflation, the largest contributor to overall inflation, is at its lowest level since October of 2021. Wage growth for American workers is beating inflation once again. As inflation declines, this administration continues to be wholeheartedly committed to putting more money back into the American people's pockets. American real wages are up 1.3% over last year and have increased each month since President Trump took office. And small business optimism, according to this morning's report, has also reached a 5-month high. Ignore the panicans and trust in President Trump. That is our motto here at the White House. The America First economic agenda is working. On another matter, yesterday, President Trump took bold action to finally restore law and order right here in our nation's capital. The president declared a crime emergency in the District of Columbia, federalized the D.C. Police Department, and mobilized the D.C. National Guard to end violent crime in our nation's capital. As part of the president's massive law enforcement surge, last night, approximately 850 officers and agents were surged across the city. They made a total of 23 arrests, including multiple other contacts. Last night, these arrests consisted of homicide, firearms offenses, possession with intent to distribute narcotics, fare evasion, lewd acts, stalking, possession of a high-capacity magazine, fleeing to elude in a vehicle, no permits, driving under the influence, reckless driving, and a bench warrant. A total of 6 illegal handguns were seized off of District of Columbia streets as part of last night's effort. This is only the beginning. Over the course of the next month, the Trump administration will relentlessly pursue and arrest every violent criminal in the district who breaks the law, undermines public safety, and endangers law-abiding Americans. President Trump will not be deterred by soft-on-crime Democrats and media activists who refuse to acknowledge this rampant violence on our streets. He is going to make our nation's capital the most beautiful and safe city on earth, just as he promised on the campaign trail. Staying on the topic of public safety, the Trump administration continues to shatter records on border security. According to brand new numbers released this morning from Customs and Border Patrol, illegal crossings have fallen to all-time lows once again. Here were the records set in July. Again, these numbers were released this morning. The lowest monthly nationwide encounters ever, down nearly 90% from the monthly average under the Biden administration. The lowest monthly Border Patrol apprehensions nationwide ever, smashing the previous record set the prior month in June. The lowest monthly Southwest border apprehensions ever. The lowest daily apprehension average ever, the lowest single-day apprehensions ever. And for the third straight month, there were 0 illegal aliens released into the country. Let me repeat that remarkable statistic. For the third month in a row, not a single illegal alien was released by the Trump administration into the United States of America. This is historic. Under President Trump, this border is the most secure it has ever been. When you fortify the border, when you restore deterrence, and when you empower Border Patrol agents and our brave men and women in uniform to actually do their jobs to enforce our laws, like this president has, this is the incredible result. And in the interior of our country, criminal illegal aliens continue to be arrested and removed. Here are some of the criminals arrested by ICE in just the last few days. ICE Buffalo arrested an illegal alien from Jamaica convicted of attempted murder. ICE Buffalo also arrested an illegal alien from Ecuador convicted of leaving the scene of an accident resulting in death. ICE Houston arrested an illegal alien from Mexico convicted of manslaughter. ICE Newark arrested an illegal alien from Mexico convicted of the sexual assault of a minor. ICE Dallas arrested an illegal alien from Mexico convicted of assault causing bodily injury. And already the Trump administration has arrested more than 300,000 illegal aliens in 2025. Again, more than 300,000 illegal alien criminals have been arrested in the interior of our country in the first 6 months of this administration. And despite many false reports in the media, nearly 70% of these arrests have been criminal aliens with criminal charges or prior convictions. This is success all around. This is removing the most dangerous public safety threats from America's communities and returning these individuals to their home countries. So there's been success all around. I'm sure you have a lot of questions today. I'm happy to get to them, so let's get started. And as always, we'll start with our new media seat, who is our podcast host today, Benny Johnson. Benny, why don't you kick us off, and thanks for being here.
Thank you, Caroline. As a DC resident of 15 years, I lived on Capitol Hill. I witnessed so many muggings and so much theft. I lost track. I was carjacked. I have murders on my Ring camera and mass shootings. I witnessed a woman on my block get held up at gunpoint for $20, and my house was set ablaze in an arson with my infant child inside. And so to any reporter that says and lies that DC is a safe place to live and work, let me just say this. Thank you. Thank you for making the city safe, because no parent should have to go through what my family went through, having the fire department rip open their door to save their infant child. And so thank you for your work on securing this city. My question to you is this. Nancy Pelosi has attacked the president for deploying the National Guard to the city, saying that it is to cover for his incompetence. Hillary Clinton has also attacked the president for securing the city of Washington, D.C. I'd like to get your response to Nancy Pelosi and Hillary Clinton.
Sure. Well, first of all, Benny, I'm so sorry that happened to you and your family. There have been, unfortunately, far too many victims of crime in this city, and I know the majority of residents in the District of Columbia agree with you. In fact, a new poll from the Washington Post I was reading this morning, this was released in May of 2024, so it's quite funny how many of you in the media agreed with what the president was saying yesterday, but now once the president says it, many of you are disagreeing with him. But this poll released by the Washington Post found that 65% of district residents think crime is an extremely serious or a very serious problem, and this was up from 56% last year. So the concern that you share with so many other residents in the District of Columbia is real, and that's why this president is taking action to address it. To get to the heart of your question, I think it's despicable that Democrats cannot agree that we need more law and order in a city that has been ravaged by violence, crime, murders, property theft. This should be a winning issue for all Americans. I don't understand. It's just anything President Trump does, the Democrats want to disagree with. I think the president would love to work with Democrats on this issue to bring law and order to America's cities, but unfortunately they have failed, and that's why he's taken this historic action to federalize the National Guard. And as you're seeing from last night's numbers, we already have seen success. We are removing violent offenders, we are arresting criminals, and we are removing drugs and firearms off of the streets of the city to make it safer for all of its residents.
Just a very quick follow-up to that. Given the heroic actions of a member of this administration just a few blocks from this building, will the president consider giving the Presidential Medal of Freedom to Big Balls?
I haven't spoken to him about that, but perhaps it's something he would consider. I'll ask him and get back to you, Benny. Thanks for being here. Gabe.
Thank you, Caroline. Regarding the President Trump summit on Friday, Why not invite Ukrainian President Zelensky to that summit? I know the president said yesterday that he planned to speak with him right after the summit and even before. But why not invite Zelensky? And whose decision was it to not invite him? Was it the president or was it President Putin?
Well, this meeting came about because the president of Russia asked the president of the United States to meet through his special envoy, Steve Witkoff, who, as you all know, traveled to Russia to have a conversation with Putin at his request. And so the president is agreeing to this meeting at the request of President Putin. And the goal of this meeting for the president is to walk away with a better understanding of how we can end this war. And the president said at this podium yesterday when he joined all of you in the room that he hopes in the future there can be a trilateral meeting with these three leaders to finally bring this conflict to an end. But this administration has really used every lever, has taken every measure to achieve peace through a diplomatic solution. And I think the president of the United States getting in the room with the president of Russia, sitting face to face rather than speaking over the telephone, will give this president the best indication of how to end this war and where this is headed.
And another question on something that happened yesterday, but I wanted to get the White House response. A judge ruled that the grand jury transcripts in Ghislaine Maxwell's case should not be released. What's the White House response to that? And do you plan to appeal? And what do you tell President Trump's supporters who want that information released?
We think that decision is unfortunate. Of course, we moved to unseal that information because the president has said he wants to see credible evidence released. As for the appeal process, I would defer you to the Department of Justice for that.
Rachel. Thank you so much, Caroline. We're learning that President Trump spoke with Ukrainian President Zelensky. I was curious if you can share any more details about their call, and did Zelensky give President Trump any red lines, any non-starters ahead of this summit on Friday?
Look, I don't want to reveal the private conversations between the president and President Zelensky, but what I can tell you is that the president has deep respect for all parties that are involved in this conflict and are trying to bring this conflict to an end. After Special Envoy Witkoff returned from his meeting with President Putin in Russia, his first phone call was to President Trump. And President Trump's first phone call was to President Zelensky and to our friends in Europe to keep everybody in the loop about where the United States can see moving the ball forward to end this conflict. And so we continue to be very much engaged with President Zelensky and the Ukrainians, but also our allies in Europe as well.
And then just one more for you. How does the president measure success coming out of this meeting? The president at times has suggested that Putin might be tapping him along. Is he prepared to walk out of this meeting if he senses that Putin is not serious about ending this war?
I think I just answered that question for you and what the goal and the expectation of the meeting is. And I won't jump ahead of any hypotheticals, and I'll leave it to the president to speak to all of you after the meeting, which I'm very confident he will. Steve.
Is he optimistic that a deal will emerge from this meeting, or is he simply going to listen?
I think this is a listening exercise for the president. Look, only one party that's involved in this war is going to be present. And so this is for the president to go and to get, again, a more firm and better understanding of how we can hopefully bring this war to an end.
Caroline, how did you settle on Alaska as the site for this? So there were some other sites being discussed. Was this like it was a midpoint between the two leaders?
There were many sites discussed, but of course Alaska is a state within the United States of America. So the president is very honored and looks forward to hosting President Putin on American soil.
Last thing, is there a joint news conference plan, or will the president have a solo one? What sort of scheduling stuff?
Yeah, the mechanics and the scheduling, Steve, are still being ironed out. For Friday, we're working with our Russian counterparts to put those plans into action, and of course we'll keep you all apprised on the logistical details of Friday as soon as we get them. Charlie?
The president said at the podium yesterday twice that he was planning to go to Russia. Was that a verbal slip-up, or does he actually plan to go to Russia?
Perhaps there are plans in the future to travel to Russia, and on Friday the president will be meeting with the Russian President Vladimir Putin in Alaska, as you know. Phil?
Last week, the president said the CEO of Intel was highly conflicted, seeming to cite his past investment with Chinese companies that were doing business with the Chinese military. Yesterday, he called his meeting with that CEO a success. So what can you tell us about what the Intel CEO said to President Trump that changed his mind?
The president put out a statement that you cited, Phil. I will leave it at that. He shared his thoughts on that meeting and how it went, and for any further comment on that, I'll leave it to him to make.
Will the Bureau of Labor Statistics continue to put out monthly jobs reports?
Well, look, what I'll tell you about the Bureau of Labor Statistics, I believe that is the plan and that's the hope, and that these monthly reports will be data that the American people can trust. As you know, the Bureau of Labor Statistics has made massive revisions after the last several reports that they have put out. And there has certainly been a decline in the quality and the reliability of data coming from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and there's been an increase in revisions. And this president and the administration is finally tackling this problem that so many have talked about, and the president is actually doing something about it. We need to restore new leadership that we can trust. As you know, the president has appointed someone new to take over the BLS, and so we need to look at the means and the methods of how the United States is acquiring this very important data, and all of that is going to be done, and the goal, of course, is to provide honest and good data for the American people to make very important economic decisions on. Michael.
Thank you, Caroline. Two questions, if I may. The president has talked about land swaps between Russia and Ukraine. Vladimir Putin says he wants Russia to hold on to Russian-occupied territory in eastern Ukraine. Is the White House at all concerned about the messaging that potentially giving over or allowing for Russia to maintain its occupied territory in eastern Ukraine, what that might say to other U.S. adversaries like China?
Look, right now, the President of the United States has done more to end this war than his predecessor, Joe Biden, who allowed this war to take place. This war, don't forget, happened at the result of the weakness and the incompetence of the previous administration. And so the president inherited this conflict, and he is determined to end it. And it's a very complex and complicated situation. As for the details of the plans that have been kind of tossed back and forth, I won't get into those, and I will let the President of the United States discuss those plans with the President of Russia, with our European allies, and the President of Ukraine, Zelensky himself as well. Sure, go ahead, in the green.
Thank you, Caroline. As far as the policing and security operations in DC,
Speak up.
Is there a timeline? Do we know what success looks like? Is it going to last longer than 30 days? And also, is there going to be an immigration enforcement aspect to this?
So can you speak up a little bit? The air conditioning is bumping in here for all of you today after yesterday's heater, so we've got to stock up. You're welcome. Go ahead.
Is there a timeline for the security operations here in DC? And also, is there going to be an immigration component to this, and what would that look like?
Look, if law enforcement officers encounter a criminal in this city, and they are an illegal alien, of course the appropriate measures to detain and deport that individual will be taken, as they should. No city should be a sanctuary for anyone other than law-abiding American citizens, and that has been the position of this administration since day one. As for the timing, we will reevaluate and reassess and make further decisions after this 30-day period is up. But within these 30 days, our entire focus is making sure that this is the most efficient operation possible, and that we are removing as many criminals from the streets, and we are cleaning up DC as best as we can, and working with the Metropolitan Police Department to do that. I know the mayor just spoke several minutes ago. I was watching her on television, and she said that an increase in law enforcement officers on the streets will be helpful to deter crime in this city, and we look forward to working with these brave men and women of the Metropolitan Police Department to remove criminals off of our streets and to keep law-abiding citizens in the district safe. Josh.
Thank you. The President weighed in on Jay Powell again today, you might have seen. He said that he's considering allowing a major lawsuit against Powell to proceed because of the, quote, horrible and grossly incompetent job he has done. Can you tell us about that? What lawsuit is he talking about?
He's considering a lawsuit, and I won't speak on it any further. I will allow the president to do that himself.
Is it fair to say the administration is considering suing the Fed chair over this renovation?
That's what the president is saying.
Has he had discussions with anyone about this, or is this just like how advanced is this right now?
At this moment in time, the president is considering a lawsuit against the Fed, and I will leave it to him to comment further on it. Tamara, go ahead.
We talked about yesterday. We talked about the NVIDIA chips deal the president has struck as well. AMD, the 15% stake that will go to the government. Do you have any detail on how that came about? The president said he asked for 20% from NVIDIA. Did he make the same 20% ask to AMD, and/or is this something the administration is looking to do with other either chips or products going forward? Is this a model it wants to build on?
Well, look, right now it stands with these two companies. Perhaps it could expand in the future to other companies. I think it's a creative idea and solution. The legality of it, the mechanics of it is still being ironed out by the Department of Commerce, and I would defer you to them for any further details on how it will actually be implemented. But again, this was another idea of the president and his brain trust on his trade team to try to, get good deals for the American people and the American taxpayer.
Did you see the report that China is discouraging use of the H20 to some companies? Since this, we're reporting that overnight there was private guidance sent to companies not banning the chip but urging them to steer away from it. I wonder if you have any response to that.
I haven't read the report. I will, and we'll get you a comment on it. Tamara.
Thank you. Last week, the meeting with Putin was sort of described potentially as an opportunity for a deal. Now it's a feeling out. Has there been a shift in expectations within the White House or an effort to temper expectations about what success looks like for this meeting?
I mean, look, I think both can be true, right? The president has always said he wants a peace deal. He wants to see this war come to an end. But this bilateral meeting is a bilateral meeting between one party in this two-party war, right? You need both countries to agree to a deal. The president is accepting this bilateral meeting with Putin on Friday, and I will let him speak further to it after it concludes about how he felt it went.
And could you also, completely unrelated topic, regarding the president's efforts in Washington, D.C., do you have any specifics about how homeless people will be dealt with, where they would be moved to? What does this look like?
I do, yes, and it's an important question, so thank you for raising it. The Metropolitan Police Department, with the support of the new federal agencies who have been surging on the streets of the District of Columbia, are going to enforce the laws that are already on the books here in Washington, D.C. For far too long, these laws have been completely ignored, and the homelessness problem has ravaged the city. So D.C. Code 22-1307 and D.C. Municipal Regulation 24-100 give the Metropolitan Police Department the authority to take action when it comes to homeless encampments. So homeless individuals will be given the option to leave their encampment, to be taken to a homeless shelter, to be offered addiction or mental health services, and if they refuse, they will be susceptible to fines or to jail time. Again, these are pre-existing laws that are already on the books. They have not been enforced, which is part of the reason for this federalizing of the National Guard to bring in this assistance for law enforcement. While we are targeting criminals and trying to remove criminals off of the streets, we also want to make DC safe and beautiful, and that involves removing mentally disturbed individuals and homeless encampments as well. So we will be using these regulations and code that already exists to clean up our streets, and we've already had great success. Not many of you picked up on this, but the United States Park Police has actually done remarkable work in terms of removing homeless encampments from the city. Since the president signed this executive order in March, 70 homeless encampments have been removed by the U.S. Park Police. There are only 2 homeless encampments remaining in D.C. federal parks under the National Park Service's jurisdiction, and the removal of those 2 remaining camps is scheduled for this week. So the U.S. Park Police will be leading this effort alongside MPD.
Just very quickly, he had talked in one of his social media posts about moving them very far outside of the city. Is that off?
No, it's not off. We're exploring how we could do that. But again, homeless shelters, offered addiction and mental health services, or jail if they refuse are the options on the table right now. And we'll continue to explore that option.
Sure. Thank you so much, Caroline. President Zelensky said moments ago that he thinks Russia is preparing for a new offensive on at least 3 different areas of the front line. Is this something that you could confirm based on U.S. intelligence? And if the president sees that Putin is indeed planning major new offensive or moving troops, would he call off the meeting on Friday?
I'm not in a position to confirm or deny or comment on that intel at this time. Monica.
Thanks, Caroline. My question involves Russiagate. A whistleblower alleges that then Congressman Adam Schiff approved leaking classified information to smear President Trump's image during the Russiagate scandal. Does the president plan to investigate Adam Schiff, and what would accountability look like if more information confirms this report?
The president has already said he wants to see Adam Schiff held accountable for the countless lies he told the American people in relation to the Russiagate scandal. I brought Tulsi Gabbard out to this podium to talk to you about all of that, and this administration is taking accountability very seriously. As for this new FBI whistleblower report, I understand Kash Patel last night declassified a 302 FBI document showing that a whistleblower who is a Democrat, a career intelligence officer who worked for Democrats on the House Intel Committee for more than a decade, repeatedly warned the FBI in 2017 that then Rep. Adam Schiff had approved leaking classified information to smear then President Donald Trump over the Russiagate scandal. This is obviously a bombshell whistleblower report. Hopefully more people in this room will cover it as such. And I have a quote from the FBI director for all of you. He has said this: "For years, certain officials used their positions to selectively leak classified information to shape political narratives. It was all done with one purpose: to weaponize intelligence and law enforcement for political gain. Those abuses eroded public trust in our institutions. The FBI will now lead the charge with our partners at DOJ, and Congress will have the chance to uncover how political power may have been weaponized and to restore accountability." That's what the administration is focused on, and hopefully we'll see some more media reports on this whistleblower allegation. If this were reversed, if this were allegations against the president or any of these cabinet officials, I'm sure everyone in this room would cover it as such. Elizabeth, go ahead.
Thanks, Caroline. After yesterday's action to federalize the D.C. police, is the president still interested in working with Congress to end the Home Rule Act, something he's talked about in the past? Senator Mike Lee has a bill on it. Is that something he's still interested in?
The president is very much still interested in working with Congress to address many of the issues that have plagued Washington, D.C., such as the cashless bail policy, which has been a complete disaster for the city. Juvenile delinquency is another major problem in the city that Congress can address. So I know Congress is on recess right now. When they get back to work to Washington, this president looks forward to having these conversations with our friends on Capitol Hill so we can work with them to make D.C. safe and beautiful again. And again, we encourage Democrats to join us in this effort. Perhaps their approval ratings would move up a little bit if they did. I saw a new poll today. Democrat approval rating is at an all-time low, 32%. If they could just stand by the basic notion of law and order, perhaps they would see that tick up a bit, and we welcome them to do that. Dasha.
Thanks, Caroline. President Trump yesterday at this podium indicated this, so has NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, that in order for peace to happen, it is very likely that Ukraine will have to cede some land to Russia. Zelensky has repeatedly said no land for peace. That's not going to happen. Has this administration communicated to Zelensky that he's going to have to change that position?
Look, I appreciate your asking that question in a different way than your colleague Michael in the back. I don't want to get into the details of these negotiations and these discussions that have taken place out of respect for where we are right now, and I'll let the president speak on it further if he wishes to.
One more about Israel. Sure. I know the president has had a call with Prime Minister Netanyahu recently. Netanyahu is planning to seize the remainder of Gaza City. What is the administration's position on this move by Israel's government?
Look, this is an incredibly complex and complicated war that, again, was inherited by this president, by his predecessor, Joe Biden. October 7th was one of the worst days in history. We saw innocent people slaughtered, murdered, kidnapped by Hamas terrorists. This administration has taken extensive time and effort and resources since Inauguration Day in January to end this conflict. We have given many flexible arrangements backed by Israel to Hamas, and unfortunately, Hamas has never agreed. Looking ahead, I will let the president speak on where he sees this going, but this is, of course, an incredibly complex and complicated situation. The administration has made our goal clear. We want to see this conflict end. We want to see the hostages released, and we've tried. The president and his national security team have given extensive effort and time to doing that.
With how Israel has used those resources and the assistance that you've provided?
Look, I'll let the president speak on the further actions that Israel may or may not be taking. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well, Caroline. Thank you. The Kremlin is expressing interest that Friday's meeting will move beyond just terms to end the war into improving bilateral relations. There's talk over
how they're interested in potentially restoring direct flights between Russia and the United States. Is President Trump open to those kind of peripheral conversations, or is this directly focused on ending the war in Ukraine?
I think this conversation on Friday is focused on ending the war in Ukraine as far as the president's perspective goes. Those conversations, I think the president is interested in having, but his main priority right now is ending this war and to stop the killing that has gone on for far too long. You're welcome.
Carolyn.
In the back. Go ahead.
Yeah, two questions on the economy. So first, we've had small businesses tell us that it's not foreign exporters who are eating the tariffs, it's them. And they've held off on raising prices, but soon they're going to have to raise prices. What is the White House's message to them?
The White House's message to our small business owners across the country is you have never had a better ally or friend or supporter in this White House than President Donald Trump, who is a businessman himself, who understands your concerns and who wants to restore wealth back to our country through the powerful use of tariffs. And that's what he's focused on doing, while simultaneously driving down costs. You have to remember, we are 6 months into this administration, and we had a president who had no business experience, had no idea what he was doing, and who funneled billions of wasteful spending dollars into our economy, which created the worst inflation crisis in a generation. Now this president is focused on tackling inflation, deregulating, cutting costs, cutting red tape to make it easier for small business owners to thrive. And again, the economic indicators show that we are moving in the right direction. In January, when this president showed up to the White House, the 6-month annualized core inflation rate was 3.7%. Today, 6 months later, the 6-month annualized core inflation rate is 2.4%. So we are trending in the right direction. Moving forward, since President Trump took office, for another 6 months, inflation will be tracking at 1.9% at this trajectory. You look at grocery prices, they fell, energy prices fell, fuel oil fell, ship fares fell, propane fell, butter, margarine, eggs, non-prescription drugs. You go through the list of items that are falling. And then I would also point to that report this morning showing that small business optimism has reached a 5-month high. So look, we inherited an economic mess from the previous administration, but this administration is focused on fixing it every day. And part of that is signing the largest tax cuts into law to put more money back into the pockets of these small business owners.
Just on the BLS, they collect the inflation data, obviously. If the jobs data is not reliable, should Americans trust the inflation data?
Well, look, the jobs data has had massive revisions. We want to ensure that all of the data, the inflation data, the jobs data, any data point that is coming out of the BLS is trustworthy and is accurate, which is why the president has restored new leadership at the BLS. Sure, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Hi. Thank you. Hi. Gavin Newsom has said that California is going to sue in response to the government's demand for $1 billion from UCLA over the DOJ's anti-Semitism findings. Newsom has called this extortion and ransom, so I'm wondering what the White House's response is to Newsom on UCLA.
Bring it on, Gavin. This administration is well within its legal right to do this, and we want to ensure that our colleges and our universities are respecting the First Amendment rights and the religious liberties of students on their campuses, and UCLA has failed to do that. And I have a whole list of examples that I will forward to Gavin Newsom's press office if he hasn't seen them himself. Brett.
Caroline. Thanks, Caroline. What was the reason that President Trump chose to move on from Billy Long as IRS commissioner?
Look, I think the president wants to see Billy Long as the ambassador to Iceland. As you know, that is where he will be headed. And the president loves Billy Long, and he thinks that he can serve the administration well in this position. For now, Secretary Scott Besson will be the acting IRS commissioner.
Timeline for announcing a new pick?
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Oh, Ed, go ahead, but then in the back. Yes.
Go in the back first.
Okay, sure.
Thanks, Caroline.
One
foreign policy and then one domestic question, if I may. There are roughly 30,000 children from Ukraine who have reportedly been abducted and are kind of dispersed around Russia. They've been showing up on these websites for adoption. Is their return a red line for the president in any deal ending the war?
The administration is aware of these reports. I don't want to set red lines for the president on his behalf from this podium. However, the president did encourage Ukraine and Russia to speak directly to one another in terms of these humanitarian issues. And we have seen progress. You have seen prisoners of war swapped between these two countries as a result of these direct talks, as well as children, and that remains a concern, but it's one that Russia and Ukraine need to iron out together, which is why this president has encouraged them to speak.
Okay, and then if I can,
sure.
The DC action real quick. The president said yesterday that this is a model federalizing the National Guard that could be used to combat really high rates of crime in other cities like Chicago, LA, Baltimore. What sort of authority would he have to deploy forces like that, absent the Home Rule Act?
Look, the president is speaking about what he'd like to see take place in other cities around the country. Right now, this administration is focused on making D.C. safe and beautiful again. When the time comes, we'll talk about that. But I will note that the president wants to see all of our nation's cities be safe. But I think starting with our nation's capital is a great place to begin, and it should serve as a model for the rest of the country. Ed.
Just to bind up a few of the D.C. things, because a lot of them have been asked, but in talking with Congress about potential changes to home rule and whatever else, would he also push the House to finally pass D.C.'s budget so that it has access to all that money that it does need for policing, for schools, and for other services here in the city?
Yes, and as you know, he has done that. He put out a statement calling on the House to take up the Senate's legislation, and he stands by that position.
Let me take you back to something from last month. You guys announced the president was diagnosed with chronic venous insufficiency after his legs were seen swelling. How's he being treated for that? And while you were upfront about those health issues, curious if the White House would be willing to let us speak with his physician directly about those health issues. I know there were a lot of concerns about the last White House not making the physician available. Would the physician be available in this case?
I don't want to make that commitment on behalf of the physician, but it's certainly something we can look into and explore out of the effort of transparency, because unlike the previous White House, there is nothing to hide. You guys see this president working around the clock, literally 24/7, all of the time, and I will be happy to look into that request.
Can we at least get an update on how he's being treated for the swelling legs and for the hands and the other issues?
Look, you see the president every day. He's moving, he's working, he's continuing. There have been no adjustments made to his lifestyle.
Thanks, Caroline. I have two questions, one on D.C., but on the Putin meeting on Friday, does the president plan to meet with Putin one-on-one?
Yes, that's part of the plan. And as for the other mechanics and logistics, I will let our team speak to that when they're ironed out.
And on what's happening in D.C. with the federal takeover, what we've heard from the mayor and the police chief is that their understanding is there has been no change in the leadership structure. In the White House's view, who is in charge of the MPD right now?
If you read the executive order, it will tell you. The leadership structure is as follows. We plan to work with the Metropolitan Police Department, but ultimately the chain of command is as such. The President of the United States, the Attorney General of the United States, our DEA Administrator, Terry Cole, who is now serving ahead of the Chief of the Metropolitan Police Department. They will be working together. Nope, Terry Cole, as you heard from this briefing room yesterday, is in charge of the Metropolitan Police Department, and he's working with the chief to ensure that law enforcement officers are allowed to do their jobs in this city.
Caroline?
Yeah, thanks, Caroline. I know you said earlier the hope is to maintain monthly job reports, but the president's new nominee for BLS Commissioner E.J. Antoni recently told Fox Business that the BLS should suspend issuing monthly job reports and only issue quarterly reports until the jobs data methodology is corrected. So does the president disagree with that assessment that his nominee has said there, or suspending these monthly job reports a real option?
I think he floated the idea of possibly suspending until they can get the data and the methodology in order. And this president wants to ensure that the BLS, again, is putting out accurate and honest data that the American people can trust. Since you brought up the new commissioner, he holds a master's and doctor's degree in economics from Northern Illinois University. He's the chief economist in the Heritage Foundation's Center for the Federal Budget. And in addition to his work at Heritage, he has multiple other roles. He's been widely renowned for his work on economic issues. He's been called before Congress to testify as an economic expert. So he's a qualified individual, and the president trusts him to lead this important department. I think I have more questions. Sure, go ahead.
Given that the administration now has jurisdiction over MPD, can we expect, does that mean like personnel changes, hiring, firing? Can we expect leadership changes internally in the Metropolitan Police Department?
Well, I just walked through what the leadership structure looks like right now.
Within the uniformed police department, right? I mean, does that mean that the Attorney General, others kind of have the ability to make those personnel decisions?
I would imagine it means they have the ability. As for any changes, I'm not tracking any. Again, we look forward to working alongside the Metropolitan Police Department, and we did that last night successfully, and we hope we can do that for the next 29 nights. Go ahead. Yes.
So in light of reports that ICE agents detained a 15-year-old student with disabilities outside an LA high school, even leaving bullets on the sidewalk, how does the Trump administration plan to ensure parents that their children can return to school without fear of being wrongfully detained or endangered by federal agents?
Where'd you see that report?
LA Times.
Okay, well, I'll have to look into the veracity of that report. I read the LA Times almost every single day, and they are notorious for misleading the public. I'm sure there's more to that story than the way that you just characterized it. This administration wants to ensure that all school children across the country in every city, from Los Angeles to DC, can go to school safely. And that's part of this administration's effort to federalize the National Guard in Washington, to ensure that ICE is removing child predators. I just read you a list of a handful, just a handful, of the hundreds of thousands of child predators that this administration is removing off of the streets of Los Angeles and every other community across this country, because we want to ensure this is a country where American school children can be safe, where they can prosper, and where they are not threatened by violent criminals, whether they are illegal or whether they are American citizen homegrown criminals, as this president calls them. So I will gladly go check on that report, and I'll get you the facts. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
President of the United States and the Chairman of the Board of the Kennedy Center, Donald J. Trump.
Thank you very much. This is a very exciting project. We're going to do something that will go rapidly, relatively inexpensively, and will make it better than it ever was, frankly. It'll be something that people are going to be very proud of. Along with, in the bigger picture, a place called Washington, D.C. That is the bigger one, and we'll talk about that in a little while. But let's talk about right now the Kennedy Center, and I'm delighted to be here as we officially announce the incredibly talented artists who will be celebrated later this year at the 2025 Kennedy Center Honors. It's going to be a big evening. I've been asked to host. I said, I'm the President of the United States. Are you fools asking me to do that? Sir, you'll get much higher ratings. I said, I don't care. I'm President of the United States. I won't do it. They said, please. And then Susie Wiles said to me, sir, I'd like you to host. I said, okay, Susie, I'll do it. That's the power she's got. But I just, so I have agreed to host. Do you believe what I have to do? And I didn't want to do it, okay? They're going to say, he insisted. I did not insist. But I think it will be quite successful, actually. It's been a long time. I used to host the Apprentice finales, and we did rather well with that. So I think we're going to do very well, because we have some great honorees, some really great ones. Since 1978, the Kennedy Center Honors have been among the most prestigious awards in the performing arts. I wanted one. I was never able to get one. This year, it's true, actually. I would have taken it if they would have called me. I waited and waited and waited, and I said, the hell with it. I'll become chairman, and I'll give myself an honor. Maybe I'm going to honor, next year we'll honor Trump, okay? This year, the board has selected a truly exceptional class of honorees. I mean, really exceptional. First is country music star, actor, and producer George Strait. Great. Over an extraordinary 4-decade career, George has sold more than 120 million records worldwide, amassed 60 #1 hits, wow, and produced 33 platinum certified albums, more than any other living American. That is amazing. He's believed by millions of people to just be as good as you can get, and he's beloved by hundreds of millions of people all over the world. He's really something, and they call him the king of country, and we know him very well, George Strait. Okay, please. Oh, it looks nice. You're a good-looking guy. I hope he still looks like that. Second is actor, singer, philanthropist, and star of the Broadway stage. One of my favorite talents. I think he's one of the greatest talents I've ever actually seen. I've always said, and just so we don't get in trouble, I'll say among the greatest artists in the world are the Broadway London actors back and forth. That's all they want to do is they want to do Broadway and they want to do London. They want to do 8 shows a week, including matinee on Wednesday. And if you said make a movie, they can't even think about it. If you say go on television, they don't want to. All they want to do is be on the stage, the live stage, and it's amazing. But I've always said they're the most talented people. And this man may be the most of all. Michael Crawford is being honored. Michael was born in England in 1942. He made his Broadway debut in 1967. I was there. I shouldn't say that, but I was there. Seems like a long time ago. And he became an international sensation in the 1980s for his original portrayal of the Phantom of the Opera, one of the greatest ever, 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 ever. You don't see him like that very often. Winning him the esteemed Tony Award for Best Actor in a Musical. He's won so many awards. Michael is truly a generational talent, had a voice that was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. There's never, I don't know, it's Luciano Pavarotti had a very different voice. The power was incredible, magnificent. Michael had a different kind of a voice. These are just unbelievable talents. But Michael is very special and one of the greatest roles in the history of Broadway. And nobody did it like him. Michael Crawford, thank you very much. Great guy. Next, we look forward to honoring 3-time Oscar nominee, Golden Globe Award winner, an action movie icon, and a friend of mine. He's a very unique man. He's somebody that doesn't do these things. I said, I wonder if he'll accept, because some people don't really want to be honored. They don't care. But he was very honored to be honored, I will tell you. He's a very special guy. A real talent, never been given the credit for the talent. There was nobody else could have done the roles that he did like he did. I'm not even close, and they've tried, and they didn't work out too well. His name is Sylvester Stallone. So it's very few, almost, if any, people that could have taken a name and made it so incredible, like Rocky, Rambo, Creed, and others. But think of it, Rocky, Rambo, if you did one, you're good. You do two. And I'll never forget, I was a young guy, and I went to see a thing called Rambo, and it had just come out. I didn't know anything about it, but I was in a movie theater, like we used to go to movie theaters a lot. And I said, this movie is phenomenal. What the heck? And that turned out to be a monster. Rocky is Rocky. I mean, the way that happened, you know, Sly had no money, nothing, and he went around, and everybody wants to do a boxing movie. It's the most, you know, probably more than any other type of character, boxing, always boxing. It's so great. And there's rarely been anything like this one. John Voight did a great one, as you know. Champ, great. I think that was right there, too. John Voight's a phenomenal person, phenomenal actor. But Sly came in and he had no money. He wrote a script along with thousands of other people writing scripts on a boxer. And for some reason, a studio picked up this and liked it. And Sly he's in an old car that he came in from Brooklyn or someplace in New York, but I think Brooklyn. It barely made it to California. He was sleeping in the car. I mean, he had nothing. And he wanted control over who the actor was going to be, because he said it can't be successful if you're going to pick a movie actor with a bad build, okay? A nice face, but a bad body. And he said, I can't have these guys, because he's a tough cookie, and he knew exactly what it took. He knew what a boxer's body was. So they brought him one, and I won't tell you who it was, but it was a big name, but the chest wasn't exactly what you need. One shot, and your heart would pop out. That wasn't too good. Then he did another one. He was fat, sloppy, but had a good face. Then he did another one, and another one, and another one. And he turned it down. He wouldn't take $1 million. He wouldn't do it. And it turned out that when they saw him, they said, you know, you'd be actually pretty good for this role. And he had never done this before, anything like it. But think of it, he turned down $1 million. He had nothing. He refused to let somebody else play. He didn't want to play it. He wasn't originally, he did it as a writer. But he ended up playing it because he couldn't find anybody else that fit the role. And who knew what would have happened? He's become a legend of the silver screen, a true legend, and he's a great guy. He's a little bit tough, a little bit different, I will tell you. He's a little tough guy. But he's a phenomenal person with a phenomenal wife and family. Incredible wife, incredible family. His film's grossing more than $7.5 billion, which is either a record or very close to it. I can't imagine anybody doing more. If you add up Rambo and Rocky and these others, I can't imagine anybody doing much more. 7.5 billion worldwide over the course of 6 decades. And Sly is a pillar of the really American pop culture and a Hollywood superstar like few others, and one of the biggest names on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. In fact, the only one that's a bigger name on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, they say, is a guy named Donald Trump. I'm on the Hollywood Walk of Fame too, if you can believe that one. But he's amazing. He's really amazing. And he's actually a great actor. Fourth will be
Hello, everyone. I'd like to tell you about a movie I produced called Lost on a Mountain in Maine. It's a story about resilience, about not giving in to the elements, of facing danger, facing your fear. I know, unfortunately, what it's like to be stranded on a mountain. You could see the storm brewing about 50 miles away, and you think, oh, I have plenty of time to get away from all this. And before you know it, within a moment, the storm is on you. You cannot see your hand in front of your face. Every tree looks alike, and you're absolutely terrified. And now you're on survival mode. And that brings out the best in people. It really does. So please watch this show, Lost on a Mountain in Maine.
This hike, it's no picnic. Treacherous terrain, takes a whole day.
Sure, some crummy old mountains that are fishing for 2 weeks sounds just swell.
Well, you don't have to go. The world is not going to give them a break. Neither should I. There she is, Mount Katahdin.
We're gonna hike there?
Sure. You're almost men now. Don, slow down.
You want us to be men? Then let us be men. We don't need you. We're going to the top.
We need to stick together! I can't find the trail!
Where's Don?
Where's your brother?
There's 100,000 acres of wilderness out there. So focused. I'm trying to make him tough. I forgot to be his dad. Just hope to God we get one more chance.
We need volunteers. As many as you can send.
Hey! over here!
Do you think our son is dead?
I always told him, when things get tough, press on.
Your brother is really stubborn.
Press on.
Together celebrating one of the most revered singers of the American disco era, Gloria Gaynor. Best known for her chart-topping 1978 hit, I Will Survive, Gloria won the 1980 Grammy for Best Disco Recording, and her song was inducted into the National Recording Registry in 2016. 4 decades later, Gloria won a second Grammy in 2020 for her gospel album Testimony, which is incredible. Truly a historic achievement, not only in terms of the years that have gone by to be great that long, but to have the two top of anything in that span of time, and with that kind of period between, is pretty amazing. But I will say that I Will Survive is an unbelievable song. I've heard it, like everyone else here, thousands of times. And it's one of those few that get better every time you hear it. And nobody can sing it like her. And that's an honor. So, Gloria Gaynor, thank you. Thank you very much. And finally, we'll be honoring one of the greatest rock bands of all time, Kiss. So Kiss was formed in 1973 in New York City by founding band members, and incredible people, by the way, Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons, Ace Frehley, and Peter Criss. Kiss became a global phenomenon, sold more than 100 million records worldwide, and produced 30 gold albums and lots of other things they produced. They made a fortune. And they're great people, and they deserve it, and they work hard, and they're still working hard, and it's an honor to present Kiss. Thank you very much. Got it? Yeah. Thank you. And they're going to do something very special. Kiss is going to be here on a little bit before the show. I think they're going to do something very special. We're going to have a good time. The 48th Kennedy Center honorees are outstanding people, a standing group, incredible. We can't wait to celebrate the Kennedy Center honors. It'll be in December. It'll be on CBS. In a few short months since I became chairman of the board at the Kennedy Center, we have completely reversed the decline of this cherished national institution. It was being run down. Money wasn't being spent properly. They were building things they shouldn't have built that nobody wanted, instead of taking care of the great gem that it is. You look at the marble, look at the quality of the marble, and the things that, with a little fix-up and a little work, we can make it unbelievable. These columns, when you see them the next time, they'll be magnificent. I mean, we have some great plans for this. The bones are so good. The bones of a building, if you don't have the bones, you might as well forget it. I'm working in another building, a thing called the White House. We're fixing it up so beautifully. It needed it. It's been many, many years since it's been properly taken care of. It's incredible. One of the great places of the world. Maybe, I mean, truly, to me, is there anything else even close? But we're doing that and doing some other things, and we're going to also fix up a place called Washington, D.C. We're going to make it so beautiful again. We're going to be redoing the parks, redoing the grass. You know, grass has a lifetime like people have a lifetime. And the lifetime of this grass has long been gone when you look at the parks where the grass is old, tired, exhausted. We're going to redo the grass with the finest grasses. I know a lot about grass because I own a lot of golf courses, and if you don't have good grass, you're not in business very long, Lindsey Graham. By the way, you have very good poll numbers, Lindsey. I just saw. Congratulations. But a few short months ago, I became chairman of the Kennedy Center, and we completely reversed it. We reversed what was happening. We ended the woke political programming, and we're restoring the Kennedy Center as the premier venue for performing arts anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world. This has the potential to be anywhere in the world. We're going to make it something that people can't even believe. We have some unbelievable plans, and ultimately it's about the talent you get, though. You know, you can have a beautiful building, you can have nice marble walls, you can have nicely done columns, as I was saying, but if you don't have the talent on the stage, and we're going to get the best talent in the world. To that end, the world-renowned musical Les Mis had a phenomenal 5-week sold-out run this summer, beat projected revenues by 35%, and we've raised over $10 million in private funds from a lot of generous donors, and we closed the $26 million budget shortfall that they had before we got here. And with the help of Congress, we secured the critical funding necessary to rebuild the building, and we're going to get all brand new, highest level seats, magnificent seats, and it's going to be all new. We could have taken the existing ones and do a little paint job, a little fabric, but it's not the same thing. So we'll be taking out next season. All of the seats will be taken out. The room is being completely rebuilt, and I just want to thank the Republicans in the Senate, headed by Lindsey. In that case, Lindsey was she's a big fan of this building, and they got a record $257 million that's going to go toward renovations that the building really needs, and all of the exterior is going to be incredible. It's going to be exciting. So I thank you very much, and thank all of your Republican senators. I don't think we had too many Democrat votes, probably. You never have. We don't have Democrats voting even for crime. But I shouldn't make this political, because they made the Academy Awards political and they went down the tubes. So they'll say, Trump made it political. But I think if we make it our kind of political, we'll go up, okay? Let's see if I'm right about that. But I want to thank the executive director for an incredible job. He's done great. He's been with me for just about the beginning, and everything he's touched has been good. He was on high intelligence. He worked in low intelligence and high intelligence. He did better with the high intelligent people, but he's been fantastic. He's the executive director, Rick Grinnell, for his work. Thank you very much, Rick. Unbelievable job. And as well as Lindsey and all the people that helped us in Congress, I want to thank, and the Senate has been incredible. By the way, Leader Thune has been unbelievable, and Speaker Mike Johnson. These are great people. What we're doing with the great big beautiful bill is you're going to see a whole different country. You're seeing it already. We're coming in where the trillions of dollars is coming in from tariffs from all over the world, from countries that took advantage of our country. They thought we were children. They took advantage of us for decades, and now the money is flowing to us, and we've become the hottest country anywhere in the world. But the Kennedy Center board members, many of whom I knew, and many of whom I put on the board, and it's as good a board as I've ever seen. And on the board also, and some people that are doing an incredible job. One in particular is Attorney General Pam Bondi. The job she's doing is incredible. Thank you very much. Long beyond the Kennedy Center. The Kennedy Center is the easy part. She's incredible, and you're going to see a big change in Washington crime stats very soon. Oh, not the stats that they gave, because they turned out to be a total fraud. The real stats, the stats went through the roof. You know, they had a man that was forced to put up stats like they were doing better. They're not doing better. Crime is the worst it's ever been, but it started as of about yesterday. You see a big change, and people are feeling safe already. I've had so many calls. Thank you, sir. Thank you. They were afraid to walk out. They're not afraid anymore. And this will be like the border. We started off with millions and millions of people coming in from all over the world, gang members and people from jails. They were unloading their jails into our country. All over the world they were coming, drug dealers. They came from Africa, they came from Asia, they came from South America, Venezuela in particular. They were coming in, Trinidad, and the toughest people you've ever seen. And by the millions. And for the last 3 months, we had 0, 0, and 0. We had 0 people come in for 3 months. They respect our country again. That's the other thing. All over the world, our country is respected again. So I also want to thank the Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles, who's fantastic. She's done an incredible job. And Sergio Gore for the job he's done with personnel. Thank you very much, Sergio. Fantastic. In the coming months, we'll fully renovate the dated and the infrastructure of the building and make the Kennedy Center a crown jewel of American arts and culture once again. I think we'll bring it to a higher level than it ever hit. Actually, it hit a certain level, but we're going to bring it to a higher level than it ever hit. We have the right location, and soon we will be a crime-free area. This is going to be a crime-free area, by the way. You'll be able to go out. People tell me they can't run anymore. They're just afraid. And they'll be running again. We're going to have a crime-free. It's a big statement because if one thing happens all year, Pam, you better be good, because they'll say Trump did not fulfill his. One person gets a little injured by somebody, they'll say Trump did not fulfill his promise. No, we're going to be essentially crime-free. This is going to be a beacon, and it's going to also serve as an example of what can be done. We have to get rid of this cashless bail nonsense. If you look at New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, which is so badly run. Los Angeles, they can't get the houses. They can't get the people their permits to build their houses. They're trying to rebuild their houses from the ridiculous fire that should have never allowed to have taken place. They should have had the water coming down from the Pacific Northwest, but they didn't do that. But they can't get the permits for the people that want to build their houses. But I want to thank Lee Zeldin, because the federal government has gotten all of their permits, which are much more difficult permits, actually, and had them literally within 30 days after the fire. Everybody had their permit. But you don't have the city and state permits. They got to get going. The governor and the mayor have to get going. It will just be a matter of time that we're going to do something that's going to be incredible. We're going to use the Kennedy Center as a big focus of it, and that's the 250th anniversary celebration that we're having. So it's 250 years. So we have the Olympics, we have the World Cup, and we have the 250th anniversary celebration, all in this administration, and it's an honor that we were able to not be allowed to do what we were illegally and what we were supposed to do, and that was we had a great election in 2020. We won the election by a lot, but it was a rigged election, and we had to wait 4 years, and we waited 4 years, and it's interesting because I got the Olympics and I got the World Cup. I can't claim that I got the 250th. That one's a big one, but I happen to be here. But I got the Olympics, I got the World Cup, and I said the shame of it is that I'm not going to be president when it happens. And lo and behold, look what happens. We have some bad things took place, and now I'm going to be president for the Olympics. I'll be president for the World Cup, and the 250th is going to be maybe more exciting than both. It's a great celebration of our country. We're going to be using this building for a lot of the celebration having to do with 250 years. But as I said earlier, I'm determined to make Washington, D.C. safe, clean, and beautiful again. It's going to take place very rapidly. Be prepared. And a big part of that's going to include the Kennedy Center. So thank you very much. And I want to thank everybody for helping us. This is mostly the group right here. They're young, they're smart, they're ambitious, they want my job. Someday one of them will probably have it. But we have a great group of people that are putting this together, and they're also helping us with Washington, D.C. We're going to make Washington beautiful. We're going to redo roads. We're going to redo the medians, the pavers, and the medians all throughout the city. We're going to take all the graffiti off. We're going to have to remove the tents and the people that are living in our parks. We're going to be redoing the parks, the grasses and all. We're going to be going to Congress for a relatively small amount of money, and Lindsey and the Republicans are going to be approving it. I don't know about the Democrats. They don't approve anything. It's amazing. It's like they just don't want to vote for anything. They've got the yips. You know, in golf they say the yips. The Democrats are afraid to do anything because they don't want to be criticized. But fighting crime is a good thing. We have to explain. We're going to fight crime. That's a good thing. Already they're saying, he's a dictator. The place is going to hell, and we've got to stop it. So instead of saying he's a dictator, they should say, we're going to join him and make Washington safe. But they say, he's a dictator. And then they end up getting mugged, and but the stats are very bad. But we're going to, I think we'll actually get Democrat support. I really believe they can't do this one too. It's, they talk about 80-20 issues, but I think many of those 80-20 issues, like men and women's sports, I think it's 97-3, not 80-20. And I think crime is maybe 100-0. So I think we may get very well some Democrat support, but I hope so. But even if we don't, we have the majority, so we're going to vote it in as Republicans, and we're going to do something. And that's going to serve as a beacon for New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, and other places all over the country. Our whole country is going to be so different and so great. It's going to be clean and safe and beautiful, and people are going to love our flag more than they've ever loved it, and we're going to do a great job. So I want to congratulate all the nominees. They're unbelievable people, and we're going to have a tremendous day in December, and that evening is going to be special, some really special people, and real talent. Do you have any questions? Yes, please.
Hi, sir. There's new reporting that the Russians have hacked into some computer systems that manage U.S. federal court documents. I wonder if you've seen this reporting and if you plan to bring it up with Putin when you see him later in the week.
I guess I could. Are you surprised? Are you surprised? They hack in. That's what they do. They're good at it. We're good at it. We're actually better at it. But no, I have heard about it. I have heard about it. Please.
Thank you, Mr. President. You mentioned congressional Democrats. You have not yet met with Democratic leadership, but there's a funding deadline at the end of September. Do you plan to meet with Leader Schumer and Leader Jeffries to discuss that situation?
Well, I will, I guess, but it's almost a waste of time to meet because they never approve anything. If we want money to fight crime, if we want money to do only good things, just good things. Let's not even talk about controversial. They don't want to meet about anything. They really are. They're stuck. They don't know what to do. They have probably more, I would say more than half are sane, but they are led by insane people. And the kind of things that they're pushing are not something. We have a communist running for the mayor of New York, and I wish him well. I may have to deal with him. I mean, it's not even conceivable. It's not even conceivable that could happen. And maybe he won't win, but he won the primaries by quite a bit. Shockingly, he won the primaries. So, and you see some of the people supporting him that truly don't believe what he's espousing. So, I mean, we will meet, but nothing's going to come out of the meeting. But here's the advantage we have is that we just passed the great big beautiful bill that had all the biggest tax cuts in history. No tax on tips, no tax on Social Security. Think of it. Think of that for the seniors. No tax on overtime. And all sorts of things. You go out, buy a car, you can deduct the interest payment. If you borrow money, you can deduct the interest payment from your taxes. So many things. But the biggest thing is, from a business standpoint, deductions. That was tremendous. It's going to, our country is roaring. Our businesses are, you're going to see some numbers in 12 months when these factories are open. We're opening up factories all over the world, all over the country, but that's all spreading to, I think we're spreading the wealth all over the world, if you want to know the truth. But we're opening them in this country at a level that we've never seen before. We've never seen. So they just don't want to prove anything. They just, we meet with them and they say, as Nancy Reagan said, just say no. They go, oh, just say no. They're afraid to approve anything. If we say, we want to stop crime in this country, or as an example, bail. We want to make it so that people, if they murder somebody, they're in jail. They don't get out on no bail. They say, we don't want that. We want people to murder somebody and they immediately are released and they go out and murder somebody else. It's a big problem, a tremendous problem. By the way, we're going to go for statutes in D.C. and then ultimately for the rest of the country where that's not going to be allowed. Because it was when they did the cashless bail thing that the numbers really started going up. In this city, in New York, in Chicago, in Los Angeles, no matter where they have it, the numbers went through the roof. So we're going to meet with them, of course. I'd like to meet with them. We're going to tell them all these good things, and they're going to tell us no. And then we're going to go out and we're going to vote it in by the Republicans, because I don't believe that anybody is capable of making a deal with these people. They have gone crazy. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your federalization of the police has a 30-day limit unless Congress acts to extend it. Are you talking to Congress about extending it, or do you believe 30 days is sufficient?
Well, if it's a national emergency, we can do it without Congress, but we expect to be to Congress before Congress very quickly. And again, we think the Democrats will not do anything to stop crime, but we think the Republicans will do it almost unanimously. So we're going to need a crime bill that we're going to be putting in. And it's going to pertain initially to D.C. We're going to use it as a very positive example. And we're going to be asking for extensions on that, long-term extensions, because you can't have 30 days. 30 days that's by the time you do it. We're going to have this in good shape. And don't forget, in the border, everyone said it would take years and you'd have to go back to Congress. I never went to Congress for anything. I just said, close the border. And they closed the border. And that was the end of it. I didn't go back to Congress. We're going to do this very quickly, but we're going to want extensions. I don't want to call national emergency. If I have to, I will. But I think the Republicans in Congress will approve this pretty much unanimously. Please, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would you encourage members of the press to do ride-alongs with the D.C. police to understand how serious this crime issue is?
Sure, it's okay to me if they want to do it. We're going to work with the D.C. police. A lot of very good people in there. Not all, but a lot of very good, very, very professional. And, we have a big force. I think they said 3,500. They're always asking the mayor, who's a very nice woman, but got to do the job. We've worked with the mayor for 6 months, and she's been here for many years. And the numbers are worse than they ever are. Don't let anyone tell you they're not. And the whole statistical charts that they made, the whole thing is a rigged deal. They got rid of the guy because he didn't want to do the numbers the way they wanted to, and they put their own numbers out. They said it's the best in 20 years. No, it's the worst in 20 years. But we're going to be very open about what we're doing. So if the media wants to ride with police, if they want to do it, if they feel it's safe, that would be okay. Yeah, please, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mary Margaret with Daily Wire. 2 questions on D.C., if that's okay. How do you feel about Mayor Bowser's level of cooperation and her choosing to advocate for D.C. statehood right now? And
the statehood, let me do that one. Okay. Statehood is ridiculous. We want to straighten the place out. Statehood's ridiculous. It's unacceptable. It's the Democrats want it because the Democrats have, about 95% in this little area. Even I didn't get it very much. They want that. They want to pick up 2 senators, and it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And that's the least of the reasons why, by the way, but that's one of the reasons why. What we want to do is make Washington, D.C., the greatest, most beautiful, safest capital anywhere in the world, and that's going to happen. I mentioned the word bones before. The bones here, we have the greatest bones. When you look at that Supreme Court building, I think it's one of the most beautiful buildings. When you look at some of the buildings here, it's so magnificent, and everything's good, but it's just dirty and not properly maintained. It's not taken care of. Potholes in the roads. All of it's going to happen very quickly. We're going to seek a relatively small amount of money for fix-up, and we're going to put it out to bid. And we have great contractors here, great road builders, everything. And we're not ripping roads apart so they're closed for 4 years as they redo the concrete bases. And you don't need that. We need a beautiful topping by a very talented asphalt-type person. somebody that does the job. We go out, you know, when I get contractors, I use great contractors. To me, a great contractor is a very special, like a great surgeon, like a great teacher, like a great nurse. A great contractor is very important. We'll only use the best. And when you put a coat of asphalt on that 2 inches of asphalt, 3 inches of asphalt, it looks brand new. You take all the garbage off. They reseed it, as we call it, or different names, but they take the bad stuff off and they put the good stuff down. It takes not a long period of time. A matter of a few days, you'll have a beautiful, magnificent road. You fix up the curbs. You get rid of the medians in this town are just horrible. You know, you're riding around, I think to myself, leaders come from foreign countries. You see, with leaders all the time, differently. They came in from India recently and from everywhere. They came in from a war that we just ended, Azerbaijan, and you know that, and Armenia. We just ended the war. The two leaders came in. One of them said, "My country looks better. The roads are better than, you know, we were talking about." I said, "What do you think?" He said, "Well, the roads are better in Armenia than they are in Washington, D.C. It's embarrassing." And I was asked at the last press conference, they said to me, "How important is it? You're doing world peace. We're going to on Friday to Alaska, we're meeting with President Putin, Russia. How important it is that the capital is important?" I said, "Very, very important." I told my father, said to me, "When you see a restaurant and you want to go and you want to have dinner, and then you go up to the front door and it's dirty, turn around and go back because the kitchen's dirty." It's the same thing with the capital of the United States of America. If it's dirty and unsafe, it sets a bad tone for the rest of the world. So we're not going to do that. We're going to have this capital fixed up, safe, clean, and beautiful in a very short period of time. Go ahead, please. In the back? Yeah, please. No, just the opposite. No. We had a very good call. He was on the call. President Zelensky was on the call. I would rate it a 10, you know, very, very friendly. I know the leaders because I was at NATO, as you know. I took it from 2% to 5%, 2% that wasn't paid, 5% that is paid, which is trillions of dollars in defense capability. No, it was always going to be, I was going to meet with President Putin, and then after that, I'm going to call the leaders and President Zelensky. I'm going to call President Zelensky, and then I'll call, probably in that order, the leaders. There's a very good chance that we're going to have a second meeting, which will be more productive than the first, because the first is I'm going to find out where we are and what we're doing. Again, this is Biden's war. This isn't my war. He got us into this thing, and it should have never happened. This war would have never happened if I were president. But it is what it is, and I'm here to fix it, and I'm here to stop 6,000, 7,000 people last week. 7,213 people last week were killed, mostly soldiers. But missiles being lobbed into towns don't exactly help either, but mostly soldiers. And Ukrainian and Russian, they're not American soldiers, but you know, if we can save a lot of lives, it would be a great thing. I've stopped 5 wars in the last 6 months. And on top of that, we wiped out the nuclear capability of Iran, obliterated it. It's turned out to be a correct word, by the way, because, you know, some of the press said, well, maybe it wasn't obliteration. It was obliteration. And we're going to meet with, I would say, the second meeting. If the first one goes okay, we'll have a quick second one. I would like to do it almost immediately. And we'll have a quick second meeting between President Putin and President Zelensky and myself, if they'd like to have me there. And that would be a meeting where maybe it could be absolutely work. But the first meeting will not work that out. Certain great things can be gained in the first. It's going to be a very important meeting. But it's setting the table for the second meeting. I think the second meeting, if the second meeting takes place. Now, there may be no second meeting, because if I feel that it's not appropriate to have it because I didn't get the answers that we have to have, then we're not going to have a second meeting.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
I didn't ask you. Go ahead, please, Redress.
I just wanted to ask you, thank you, Mr. President. How involved were you in the selection process of these honorees?
I would say I was about 98% involved. No, they all went through me. They came over, Rick and Sergio and everybody. They said, I turned down plenty. They were too woke. I had a couple of wokesters. No, we have great people. This is very different than it used to be. Very different. These are great people, and they're not. I don't have any idea of the Republican, because I want people that the Kennedy Center has everything. Look at the Academy Awards. It gets lousy ratings now. It's all woke. All they do is talk about how much they hate Trump. But nobody likes that. They don't watch anymore. That used to have 45 million people watching. I remember The Apprentice, first season. The Apprentice had 42 million people. The Academy Awards had 41 million people. We were the second show to the Super Bowl. But since then, the Academy Awards have gone down to, I think they've gone down to numbers that are like a regular show, because it went woke. We're not doing it for that reason. We're doing it because we want the great talent. But these are great people. So I was just a very long answer, but I was very involved.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Biden administration was auctioning off border wall materials, but we're hearing now that the auctioneers selling those materials back. Are you finishing building the wall?
Well, I built hundreds of miles of wall, and I was getting very close. I actually finished the wall, but then I added another 200 miles, because when you do the original wall that I said I was going to build, which I got built, and I got it to the specifications of the Border Patrol and ICE, the exact. They wanted steel, they wanted concrete inside, they wanted rebar inside that, they wanted it to have wires. We have the walls are wired for, all of the internet stuff and security things. And we built it hundreds of miles. We did great. That's one of the reasons, even now, we're able to have such good numbers at zero, or essentially very little people coming in. But Biden, I ordered for another 200 miles. I was going to do another 200 because it's the way it is. And we're all set to do it. Then we had the bad election result, the horrible, what happened to our country, what they've allowed to happen to our country. And we are taking now that wall back. They sold the wall. Now, this is expensive stuff. Hardened steel, very expensive. 9,000-pound concrete and rebar. Rebar is very expensive, the hardest rebound. No, it's very hard to cut. You have different materials. It's very hard to cut because they cut it down if they can. It's very hard to cut. And Biden sold it for pennies on the dollar, 3 cents on the dollar, 4 cents on the dollar. He sold it. And I said, these guys really don't want it. That was when I first realized, when I saw the wall was being put up, because we could have finished the rest of the wall in about 4 weeks, anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks. It was all set to go. It was laying down, ready to be put up. The foundations were, and they took over, and they said, we're going to sell the wall. And they sold it, as you know, for pennies on the dollar. Well, Pam Bondi's been working very hard on suing that company, and I think they reached a settlement where we're taking the wall back. But they stole the wall from us. That wall is so expensive to build, and we had it, as you know, hundreds of miles of it, and they came along and they basically sold it for scrap. And what a shame that is. But that was when I first realized that these people actually want to have open borders. And no country has poor countries don't have open borders. No, we had open borders where people just walked in. It didn't matter what they looked like, who they were. We had 11,888 murderers, half of whom killed more than one person. Literally killed more than one person. And this is who we took into our country. So the wall is the least of it, but we're going to take the wall back. We're paying a small amount of money, as I understand it, to get it back, to get rid of the litigation. We'll take it back. We'll put it up. Yeah. Go ahead in the back, please.
I want to take it back to the Kennedy Center, if I can, just for a second, Mr. President.
Sure.
From what I understand, the Les Mis show exceeded everyone's expectations. Attendance, revenue, across the board.
Great.
Do you anticipate future shows to basically do the same?
I like that guy. Now, that's called a question, okay? And he's a great reporter, actually. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah, it did great. Les Mis did great, broke records, and was sold out and beautiful. And we anticipate a lot of that happening. There's a thirst for it. And especially when the crime is knocked out. You know, when we knock out crime, some people probably stay away from places like restaurants and other things. It ruins your whole fabric. It ruins your country. And when somebody thinks they have about a 25% chance of getting mugged, they say, let's not go to restaurants tonight. We're going to make it so that they have no chance of getting mugged. And it's going to happen soon. And yeah, we think we're going to have a lot of very successful evenings here. Please.
Vladimir Putin does not agree to stop the war after your meeting on Friday?
Yes, they will. Yeah.
What will the consequences
there will be
be?
consequences.
Sanctions, tariffs?
There will be, I don't have to say, there will be very severe consequences, yes. Yeah, please.
Can I ask you a question about the Fed?
Right next to you, please, yeah.
About the Federal Reserve.
Oh, Federal Reserve, my favorite. Too late.
He's
too late.
You're considering suing Jay Powell. Can you update us on your thinking about that and tell us where you are in your search for a new chair?
Well, he took a building that could have been painted and fixed, like we're going to fix this building for very little money. And that was in better shape. He took a building and what they did to that building, they built a basement under the building. It didn't have a basement. This is simple to understand. The building is right next to a thing called the Potomac River, the beautiful Potomac River. That means lots of water. And the water is right under the building. And they decide to build a basement under the building in the Potomac River. So in order to do that, you need the biggest pumps that God ever created. And they were pumping their hearts out, but as big as those pumps are, you can't pump it fast enough because it's the Potomac River. If the pump were bigger than this room, you couldn't pump it. But they tried, and they've been building a basement. And I said, why did you want to build a basement? I thought it would be a good idea, sir. A basement is the least valuable floor in a building. I know a lot about real estate. The least valuable thing is the basement. And you don't build a basement under a building that is 2 feet above the river that's right next door. You know, it's right near the river. People don't realize the river's right out their window. And that's the beginning. They did just a terrible job. Instead of, I could take a ceiling like this, they'd rip out the ceiling because they see a crack. Let's rip out the ceiling. And I would fix the crack and I would paint the ceiling. And under the ceiling, they put the most incredible protective material. They go out by 3/4 inch, brand new, gorgeous 3/4 inch plywood and sheetrock, hardened sheetrock. And they had it all over the building. So if a little piece of flake came down, but the problem is when they took the ceiling down and it would hit, they spent millions of dollars on protective material that you didn't have to spend anything. He could have done that job for $25 million, and they spent $3.1 billion. He said 2.7, but it's really 3.1. They just don't want to include one of the buildings in the deal. But it's going to be much more than that. And I think he'll be long gone by the time it finishes because they've got a long way to go. And then I hear they want to hire 3,000 economists. What are they going to do? And he got it all wrong. He's too late. We call him Jerome Too Late Powell. It will live with him forever. I believe that name will live with him forever, along with the name Pocahontas and some of the others. He worked closely with Pocahontas, by the way. She's another beauty. But we have a real problem there. They're way over budget. And they did a job that shouldn't have been done. It was unnecessary to be done. Instead of, I could have gotten the greatest wallpaper anywhere in the world from the finest stores in the world. I could have fixed up a wall a little bit. It would have taken about 2 hours. And covered it with the most magnificent silk and most magnificent paper for thousands of dollars as opposed to tens of millions of dollars. What a shame it is that they did. But they would take down areas of the building that shouldn't have been taken down. They could have literally been painted, and they didn't do that. So they've got a long way to go. And I think it's just grossly incompetent, but not quite as incompetent as his decision not to do interest rates, take down interest rates, because just like they shouldn't have taken down a ceiling, they should take down interest rates. Every point costs us $360 billion a year. Think of that, $360 billion for 1 point. And we should be down at 1% because we're the leader of the world. We were always the lowest interest rate until like a certain time ago, decade, couple. But we were always, because we were the United States of America. So even if the country was run badly, we were considered like to be super prime. And now he's got us in a bad place. So we're paying $360 billion a year for each point. Now, I believe we should be 3 or 4 points lower. So that's over $1 trillion we pay every year in interest. And it's really just a paper calculation. You sign a document and you save almost $1 trillion because that number equates very much to the bonds that we have to buy. But despite that, we're powering through it, and we have the greatest economy maybe we've ever had. But the housing sector, people aren't able to get good mortgages. They're paying too much because of Jerome Too Late Powell. He's truly incompetent. And we'll be making another. We put a very good man in temporarily in the one spot because one of the people that was appointed by the Democrats left early. And I heard left because that person wanted lower interest rates. And I heard quit, but I have no idea. I'm sure she won't say that. I'll be naming a new chairman sometime within the next. I think I'll name it a little bit early, the new chairman. I'm down to 3 or 4 names, all good, all great. The problem is you name them and then they turn out to be not good. That's happened to me a couple of times. You name somebody, they tell you everything you want to hear, and then they go in and they turn out to be not good. I mean, he told me everything that I thought was appropriate. He turned out to be a stiff, real stiff. But other than that, I think he's doing a very good job, yes. Okay, maybe 1 or 2 more. 1 or 2 more. Yes, sir, please. Go ahead. He looks like Scott Bessent. Are you the Treasury Secretary?
You don't want me for Treasury.
I don't know. You look like you could do a good job. Go ahead.
I keep my family budget okay. Sir, when you meet with Vladimir Putin Friday in Alaska,
yeah,
do you believe you can convince him to stop targeting civilians in Ukraine?
Well, I'll tell you what, I've had that conversation with him. I've had a lot of good conversations with him. Then I go home and I see that a rocket hit a nursing home or a rocket hit an apartment building and people are laying dead in the streets. So I guess the answer to that is no, because I've had this conversation. I want to end the war. It's Biden's war, but I want to end it. I'll be very proud to end this war along with the 5 other wars I ended. But I guess the answer to that is probably no, because I would have had a good conversation with Vladimir. I knew him very well. I got along with him great, actually. We had I had to go through the Russia hoax. And it was actually, it was a strain on the relationship. I actually told him, I said, they got this phony investigation going on, Russia, totally phony, created by Adam Schiff, Shifty Schiff, and Hillary Clinton and the whole group of them. And it made it very dangerous for our country because I was unable to really deal with Russia the way we should have been. I'm looking at Pam because I hope something's going to be done about it. These people put our country at great danger. And Adam Schiff, it was all made up. It was a hoax. The Mueller report came out. They all hated me. They had 18 Trump haters. And they said I did nothing wrong. They couldn't believe, they couldn't find anything. After years of investigation, it was all a hoax. It was a hoax created by the Democrats, but in particular Schiff and Crooked Hillary, the whole group. And now we've learned all the stuff that's come out over the last 2 months is incredible through intelligence. And hopefully something's going to happen with it. These are people that put our country in danger, in real danger. I want to thank you all very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hello everyone, welcome to 天下之多啲. This is a Hong Kongers channel, Hong Kongers mega channel. I'm here to support the truth, the real news. We don't want any more fake news on the internet. And I try my best to share as much information as possible to the audience. And my focus audience are Hong Kongers, because we share the same dream, and we share the same hope. So because we are the first generation immigrants, and I understand how they feel and what they need to be real American. So that's why I start this channel, and also help many new immigrants during the election. They know who to vote for, so they won't have to trust the Democrats, because the Democrats are liar, pants on fire. Okay, and now I have to go back to Cantonese for my audience. I'm appreciated all my American audience, English speaking audience. I hope some from Canada, some from America, so they can see the greatness of our president. I don't know if anyone watched the Biden speech last year. It was awful. I fall asleep because it's boring, really boring. Okay, I'm glad this one is good. Yeah, and we know he works every day, like 24/7 almost. How can he do that? I don't know. I don't understand. So on August 15th, Friday, like 2 days later, he is going to meet with Putin, and hope they can have a good solution to end the war. And we don't trust either one. We don't trust Zelensky. We don't trust Putin. Okay, the only one we trust is President Trump. And he knows when this first meeting is like testing the water. That's why he cannot promise anything, because he don't know what the Putin going to promise, what would Putin want. They speak on the phone and they still did nothing works, and they probably have to come up with something. And if not, I think we have to walk out of this thing and just let them fight. Let them kill each other. I don't know. It's kind of and if that happens, it's really bad. It's really bad. You know. So yep. So hopefully, let me answer my message. Okay. Oh, okay. Anyway, thank you very much for your subscribe. Thank you very much. I love you guys. I appreciate it. Even you don't like Trump, I'm appreciated you watching it. I hope you have an open mind, and I hope you can see the truth. Right now, Newsom want to do an impeachment, and later I'm going to talk about, all the Newsom plan. What's that called? Gerrymandering. Gerrymandering. Okay, I'm going to talk about that, but in Cantonese. I'm sorry. Okay, because I guess I'm a lot of new immigrants. They don't know what gerrymandering. I heard about it before. I'm not sure about what it is. I've been here like 40 years, and I never pay attention. And America is a great place. A great place, really. good place for everyone. If you want to just, live your life, you have a small dream, you don't need a big dream. There's a small dream, own a house, get to work. You just need to get to work and find a job, get to work, do whatever, become entrepreneurs, open a small business like me, anything, you can accomplish anything in America. Even with the Chinglish, like even someone with the Chinglish can be living in this country very happily until the Democrat mess up everything, Make us worry about our next generation, the safety of our next generation. That's the main concern for many parents. So that's the problem. So that's why we don't want Democrat, the DEI bullshit thing. We don't want that. And Trump is at least guiding our country into one direction, a correct direction. And it's very interesting. One other thing, it's very interesting about the extension of 30 days in DC, because what I know about Trump, he likes to do things quickly. And DC is not a huge area. I think DC is smaller than Los Angeles. I'm not DEI, you stupid shit. I don't like DEI. I don't need DEI. I work my ass off. I don't. Everything I do, I work hard. I don't need DEI. They don't need my DEI. They don't need to see my. I just provide service and people accept, people enjoy, people lead. You don't need DEI. That's stupid. Only stupid people need DEI. Okay, and about the 30-day extension, I do have a lot of questions, and because from what I know about Trump is like he likes to do things quickly, everything get it done, and DC is a smaller, very small area, small place, smaller than Los Angeles, and I don't understand why he needs more than 30 days to secure to clean up the thing, to clean up the street and do all those things. The only one reason I can think of is about the tunnel under the DC. And like everyone, maybe not everyone knows about the tunnel. And if we really have people, see, you need to look at a lot of side, not mainstream information, in order to find out there's a tunnel under many major cities, and what the tunnel does is for human trafficking. And the only reason I'm thinking if Trump needs more than 30 days to clean up DC is only because of the tunnel underneath the DC. So well, maybe this maybe it's an idea, we should support it, because if just for cleaning up this, I'm not going to support President Trump for 30 days, because that is not a good idea for the next president or whoever they come in next. If they follow the same step, they're using the same rules, that will be our country will be kind of in danger, because we don't want a president got too much power. Like President Trump, he doesn't have too much power. A lot of time he raised up a lot of executive order, and he if any executive order conflict with our constitution, a judge can order him to not execute the executive order. and also a lot of things, a lot of political reason, and he has to watch out how he writes his executive order, and he has to ask Congress for help. See, this is what we call separation of power. And for many years, Democrats didn't do it the way it's supposed to. See, if Democrats when they have the power, they forget it. They don't do the DEI stuff. They do the normal American stuff. People will support Democrat. And Robert Kennedy Jr. don't need to switch parties. Charles Gilbert, many of them, they don't have to switch party. The reason the real truth American, those who love this country, switch to Republican, because the Democrat, when they have the power, they abuse it. They abuse the power, and they didn't do any good thing for the American. They do good thing for other country. They worry about other country. So that is the reason. And now even President Trump asked for public safety, make DC beautiful again. They go against it. They just against President Trump on anything, anything President Trump does, they go against him. And I'm going to talk about Newsom later. Okay, and I have to go back to Cantonese now because I have to explain to the people about the German gerrymandering. Okay, thank you very much for watching. Okay.Hello 大家好啊 ！Hello 大家好，歡迎嚟到天下知多啲啊！開始咧有可能就少咗好多人喺度噶啦，不過今日咧都有好多人訂閱啦，多謝大家啦。咁因為咧都係好緊要嘅Trump 啲 speech 因為每次佢嘅演講之後咧，佢都有答問嘅，佢都有俾記者答問嘅。咁其實大同小異嘅，次次都但係有時咧。就硬係突然之間咧，就會彈咗出嚟嚇。咁咧就所以咧所以好緊要，亦都要繼續咧不斷咁同佢推啲片啦。咁等我睇下先，等我先講一講呢個Jerry， 睇下，呢個陣間先講咗呢個先gerrymandering， 大家會聽，大家都會好多時會見到呢個字㗎啦。近排就因為咧德州嗰班議員咧，民主黨議員咧就走佬，就唔去開會，因為佢哋嗰邊有 quorum 㗎。即係夠人先可以開會嘅，咁佢哋又特登就用呢個方式咧，就遲等佢唔開會，因為德州嗰邊咧就準備再劃個呢個叫做選區劃分操縱呢個選區劃分，咁呢個究竟係咩一回事咧？所以我就特別咧就同大家解釋一下，咁等我拎走我自己個樣先啦，等我一陣。希望大家繼續留言點讚，同埋咧其實教大家咧好容易嘅啫。你見到你係手機喺上邊 double tap 睇唔睇到？你又見你就會 like 咗噶啦你就會 like 咗我個 post 呢個 video 咁我而家拎走咗我自己先因為唔好遮住大家啲字啦OK， 呢個咧就係中文翻譯啦，我都要靠好多嘢嚟幫忙而家因為有 AI， 所以我先可以講多啲。如果以前咧就你個日日做真係冇可能，因為咧就係寫都有排我寫 寫完仲要睇點樣講出嚟，方便大家可以容易啲睇到嘅，都唔係都係一個非常困難嘅艱巨嘅工作。但係而家咧就唔係啦，而家就容易好多啦嘛，咁大家可以睇到個熒光幕咧就可以見到啦嗰啲字啦。咁應該啲字咧都唔係好，應該啲字咧就手機版都唔細噶啦，連手機版應該都可以睇得好清楚噶，除非你個手機真係好細咯，因為應該都冇問題嘅。咁而家因為我講廣東話咧，就少咗啲人咧。希望咧大家咧幫手咧分享出去咧，等多啲講廣東話嘅朋友咧嚟關注我嘅我呢個頻道咯。咁就呢個好開始講下啦。呢個選區劃分操縱咧係一種政治操縱行為啦，就通過重新劃分選區嘅邊界來影響選舉結果嘅。其目的通常係為咗咧，俾啲政黨團體喺選舉入邊咧獲得優勢，無論係增加職位數量或者保護現有職位咯。咁而家德州咪係驚緊咯，因為可能會劃個選區咧就會共和黨再多5個議席啊嘛。如果劃咗之後，佢哋嘅估計，咁我陣間咧就會 show 埋個地圖俾大家睇。咁大家就可以更加容易咧就了解究竟我係點樣畫法嘅，同埋我哋加州呢個咧係點樣畫到亂晒龍嘅同埋佢即係呢個有個基本概念，即係基本規矩啊，叫做有基本原則每隔10年呢個人口統計之後咧就會再畫一次㗎啦咁每10年一次嘅正路就係因為操縱目的講咗呢個方法咧就靠 packing 啦。就係將啲選區咧嗰啲人口譬如話拱晒去一個地區，或者搬嚟搬去用咩方法？房屋咯所以我哋其實好緊要嘅參加地方選舉咧係非常之重要嘅。地方議員咧就有權咧去控制地方嗰啲嘅分佈咯。cracking 就將佢分散啦 ，packing 就拱埋一堆咯，一個分散拱埋一堆咯。起源啦，呢啲就係要歷史啦gerrymandering 就源自1812年。馬龍駐特州唔知中文唔識譯咁呢個人咧，呢個州長啦，簽署咗一項法案，重新劃分選區界別，使形狀咧即係Salamander 因此咧就諷刺為 gerrymander 咁樣嚟嘅。呢個就係起源啊 ，gerrymander 嘅起源而家都係爭議啦，就係 gerrymandering 咧，長期以來都被視為民主嘅威脅啦，因為佢允許政治人物選擇選民而不是選民選擇政治人物呢個事實嘅。點解加州咧就咁耐咧都係一路可以係民主黨揸旗咧？我哋就算好多人問點解嗰陣時彈劾紐森彈劾極都唔到嘅，就係其中呢度係其中一個原因嚟嘅。有例子添2024年嘅選舉入邊共和黨控制咗更多州嘅選區重劃過程所以跟住咧 Bannon Center 估計咧，這些選區圖咧比投票自由法案 Freedom to Vote Act 中設定的反選舉操控標準少了約16個民主黨或傾向民主黨嘅選區，呢個只係例子嚟咯呢個就係民主黨認為會發生，所以佢哋咧就走佬咯 咁我俾大家睇下個地圖啊。其實我哋今日講我哋加州咧，係咪？我哋加州咪俾佢整搞到一鑊粥咁啦。加州呢個成個睇下大家睇唔睇到啦 ？OK， 呢個就係我哋加州，都唔見咗喺度啊！一個加州地圖啦。呢個咧係網站嚟嘅，官方網站嚟嘅，大家咧就可以睇到啲藍線啦，睇到啲藍線，睇下睇唔睇到先，應該睇到啦，就係啲各個選區啦。咁咧，俾個例子大家睇，你睇下呢個，撳一撳睇下，呢個圍住嘅淺藍粉藍色圈圈。呢個就係我哋趙美心嘅選區咁啊好多唔同啦睇下全部咧，哇因為佢係就翻嘅，呢度大部分呢度咧都係啲民主黨人啊嘛咁佢點樣都要湊翻夠人頭噶嘛，7萬幾個啊嘛，每個區要有，你知啊 Congress 啊成聯邦就要7萬幾個選民啦，70萬個選民聯邦就有70萬個選民，但係知唔知道原來我哋加州州眾議員啊係要100萬個選民，所以咧。睇下如果我咁點解我樣用手指指喎我咧？手指指係呢度啦，圍住呢笪咧咁，總之係呢笪就係趙美心。咁咧話佢咁大家佢已經係 incumbent 啊嘛，已經做緊啊嘛，坐咗成10幾年啦已經坐穩奴才啊，嗰啲真係坐穩奴才啊，咁啊。而家就佢唔需要嘅，佢呢邊咧人口其實好稀疏嘅，人口其實非常稀疏嘅呢邊。咁咧佢只係攞嚟搭單嘅，但係主要同埋人口稀疏呢邊咧，多數都係共和黨嘅。但係人口密集嘅位置就喺晒呢度，所以咧而人口密集呢紮位置咧就係睇下先係啦，我就喺呢度啦。我就喺呢度啦，上啲或者係咯，我就喺呢頭噶啦。咁佢咧就係呢頭咧，就多數都係民主黨。咁佢主要係集中晒喺呢度就得噶啦，其餘嗰啲唔使理嘅其餘都唔理噶啦，已經佢都唔會到嘅。嗰啲 Pasadena 嗰啲Pasadena 呢個星期6又喺度講大話啦，準備，但係佢仲要去報名嘅，即係你淨係你報完名，你有記錄佢先俾你入去嘅就咁咯。咁呢個就係加州。咁我哋而家加州嗰個形勢咧係點樣嘅咧？就再俾大家睇啦。所以呢個俾大家睇呢個地圖係咁啦。其實咧就放翻大啲，係仲好大嘅，加州好大噶嘛，你睇下。我哋南加州羅省有幾多選區喺度啊？係嘛？因為落到聖地牙哥，啲東區呢啲都係共和黨嘅就喺度上啦。呢個我應該我放埋呢個網站咧，喺大家可以做參考啦。睇下密集晒喺度啊！呢啲冇人嗰啲沙漠地方嚟嘅，農村啊嗰啲啊，山頭啊，即係冇乜人住嘅地方喺晒呢邊。但係呢邊全部都係共和黨，但係密集晒呢個岸邊喺晒。呢個睇唔到 mouse 岸邊呢度就全部俾民主黨佔領晒。咁因為有工會啊嘛，咁啊冇辦法啦。 點解咁嘅？OK， 都係 partial list 點解喺我？哦，點解咁嘅？搞錯咗個表啊 ！anyway 俾大家睇下個表題係點啦。OK， 共和黨 representative 就數下咯喎，1、2、3、4、5、6、7、8、9、10個啫我哋加州嘅啫，呢個淨係講加州我哋10個。Second district 呢邊下邊咧就係民主黨嘅，呢個好似少少唔係好啱喎。But anyway 啦，即係大約啦，當睇下幾犀利，我哋已經俾佢哋立晒㗎啦。加州根本就係42個席啊！咦，應該係唔啱52啊嘛 ，total 係52。跟住咧42咧係佢哋㗎啦，10個係我哋嘅，所以而家紐森仲喺度話要劃區喎，你再劃區，再劃一劃咧，咁呢10個都冇埋啊，咁即係我哋即係冇代表啦，得唔得咧？係咪？係嘛？即係我哋冇代表，即係民主黨代表晒我哋加州，你哋想唔想一黨獨大啊？好簡單嘅啫，你想一黨獨大咧，咁你咪俾佢劃咯，我哋下一個 topic 俾我睇下呢個就係講緊咧，攞咗我自己，攞咗埋我把聲。
That's the difference between the people. And that's the difference between we'll pick up 5 seats with the consent of the people. And that's the difference between the approach we're taking and the approach they're taking. We're doing it on a temporary basis. We're doing it in a fully transparent way. And we're doing it by asking the people of the state of California for their consent and support.
I find it interesting because he talks as if they're so moral and so just and they're just responding. But here are some interesting facts about California that he won't tell you. And let's compare these facts to Texas. I think we can all agree that California is the Democratic stronghold and Texas is the Republican stronghold. Now pay attention to this because this is going to be interesting and also telling. So in Texas, 56.1% of the voters voted for Trump and 42.5% of the voters voted for Kamala Harris. Now let's look at how this breaks down when it comes to the House of Representatives. 65.8% of the representatives are Republicans and 34.2% of the representatives are Democrats. The average difference here between who people voted for compared to the amount of representation they're getting in the House is about 9%. Now let's go to California. 58.5% of voters voted for Kamala Harris, and 38.3% of voters voted for Donald Trump. Okay, so we know 58.5% of the voters in California voted for Kamala Harris. 82.7% of the representatives in the House in California are Democrats. 82%. Republicans have 17.3% of the seats. So the average difference here is 22.6%. And when I say this difference, I mean the discrepancy from what people vote for compared to what representation they're actually getting. Remember, right now, 82% of the representatives in California are Democrat. And the governor's talking about adding 5 more seats at the cost of Republican representation. So after the redistricting he's proposing, Democrats would have 92% of the representatives in that state, when almost 40% of the state votes for Republicans. And these are the people who talk about voters being disenfranchised and all these different things. These people act like they're all moral and virtuous. No, they care about winning. That is it. They want to win. Do not buy what they are selling. They simply want to win and they want power. They are the fastest growing channel in Substack. If you look above the orange button, you'll see it says #1 Rising in Culture. This is my email newsletter. And the link to this is in my profile. Just go to my profile, click the link, you'll see this screen here, drop your email in and hit subscribe. I go into more detail there on many topics than I do here. And it's one of the only places I cannot be censored. So again, the link to that is in my bio. Just go to my profile, click the link, drop your email in, and you'll be good to go. That's all I got for now. We'll see you in the next one.
咁我就會，亦都頭先唔記得放呢條連接咧，連接喺嗰個，等我放翻個連接喺嗰個 description 度先，因為咧方便大家咧，因為佢其實呢個好多資訊嘅，佢有好多資訊提供俾大家，咁大家咧就可以咧知道。即係更了解更多咯，可以。咁我放翻啦，而家即時做要即時做咗先等啲人咧就即時咧就可以上去睇咯。咁而家就等我攞走咗呢個先啦，一條友單拖大家頭先睇咗啦呢個。講完啦，跟住咧，仲有咧就係有個好有趣嘅，即係唔好咁悶啦，成日都政治係咪？講下啲經濟啦，好唔好咁樣啦？咁咧有個經濟台咧，有個叫做講投資咁好中意去講呢個話題嘅，呢個話題拎走咗添，俾啲 introduction 俾大家，咁大家知道咧。準備會講啲咩話題就係先呢個啦，呢個咧就係一個後生仔，好似20零歲嘅後生仔，就開咗間公司叫做 Perplexity 私間經營嘅 AI 軟體公司咧，提供一個以人工智能一個智慧嘅人工智能推動嘅對話式搜索引擎啦。與傳統搜索引擎提供一連串嘅連結唔同啦 ，Perplexity 咧會綜合網路上多個來源資訊，並提供一個富有引用嘅簡潔答案，即係好似 AI 咁啦。佢利用嘅咧包括自家專有嘅模式，以及 ChatGPT、Omni 同 Cloudy 3.5 Sonic在內嘅多種大型語言模式 LLM， 即係 LLM 亦都係而家Grok 用緊嗰個 language 啦，叫做language model、large language model 中文譯到大型語言模式來理解用戶嘅查詢及提供最新嘅回應。呢間公司成立喺2022年嘅喎，咁之後推出咧網站搜索引擎啦，即係 Chrome 擴充功能啦，即係幫 Chrome 就唔係 Chrome， 佢係幫 Chrome 擴充功能，以及 iOS 同埋 Android 嘅行動應用程式，哇，好犀利喎呢條友跟住，但係而家佢咧就諗住咧收購 Chrome 嘅最新消息，近期呢一個發展咧係。Perplexity 咧 AI 已向 Google 提出一項非應請嘅全現金收購要約345億美金。你345億美金你就想買 Google 個 Chrome 喎有時後生仔諗嘢Elon Musk 都用咗220萬億220億嚟買Twitter 啦不過咧，即係而家我講到呢度咧，大家大約咧有個 idea 啦咁我俾大家睇下呢個我好中意睇嘅，即係一個平台啦。咁咧佢就好清楚。就解釋到呢間公司發生緊啲乜嘢，同埋佢解釋得 好好聽，就唔係好似我咁解釋得咁悶嘅嚇。咁我喺 description 已經放咗呢條 link 㗎啦，咁大家咧亦都麻煩你哋入去咧，亦都訂閱埋佢個頻道咯，因為我借咗佢呢一 part 嚟同大家解釋呢個公司。
Perplexity 咁啊叫做咧，其實我都係睇啲新聞都係形容 Perplexity 咧係一間 startup 嚟嘅。咁而家呢個大膽單嘢。Perplexity 咁啊叫做咧，其實我都係睇啲新聞都係形容 Perplexity 咧係一間 startup 嚟嘅。咁而家呢個大膽的 startup 咧就係做咩咧？提出以345億美金收購Google 嘅 Chrome 大家都用㗎啦，就係即係上網用嚟 search 嘢嗰個瀏覽器啦。咁咧呢個 Perplexity 提出呢個345億嘅呢個收購價咧，就係比起 Perplexity 而家自己嘅估值咧都仲要高，即係有啲蛇吞象。咁咧，但係佢哋都話咧，已經係得到幾個投資者咧同意呢個收購嘅交易㗎啦。咁咧就我於是就今朝早咧就問下 Perplexity 啦，係啦。咁咧就如果大家未有 Perplexity 嘅 WhatsApp 咧，你哋喺個留言嗰度問我攞啊，我驚我一間轉頭唔記得啊嚇。咁我自己就通常每一日都會用嘅呢啲 chatbot 咧，都係問 Perplexity 同埋 Chrome 嘅。咁我今朝就問啊，你哋係咪真係收購 Chrome 㗎？咁樣，咁佢就答我咯喎。係啦，佢話佢都啱啱收到消息，佢就話咧，佢哋呢一間初創公司 Perplexity 咧，正式提出以345億美金收購 Google 旗下嘅 Chrome 瀏覽器。咁咧就已經將呢個收購要約咧就俾咗上晝星期二嘅上晝俾咗 Google 㗎啦，亦都係得到咧多間大型投資基金嘅支持。咁雖然咧 Google 係未有回應，但係咧分析認為 Google 咧係極不可能出售 Chrome 嘅，亦都可能咧會展開長期嘅法律抗辯成為咧而家成為呢個科技界嘅熱點話題啦。咁佢再問我啦，佢好中意聊嘢講嘅，佢會問我想知道啲乜，咁我就即係順下佢意啦，就繼續問落去啦。咁佢就即係到底個市場同埋個背景係點樣嘅咧？就係而家咧司法部喺反壟斷訴訟裏邊咧。之前咧已經叫咗 Google 咧要剝離 Chrome 㗎啦，認為 Chrome 咧係有呢個壟斷，就導致呢個搜尋器市場係不公平競爭。咁咧就所以咧呢個 Perplexity 嘅收購咧係喺呢一個背景底下度出現嘅，係為對方提供呢個獨立營運促進市場嘅多樣性同埋公平競爭。好啦，個估值啦，咁咧嗱而家 Perplexity 咧其實係好 young 嘅一間公司，成立唔夠3年。估值咧就係140億至到180億美金，所以頭先咧我咪提到係呢個345億嘅收購咧，其實係高過佢哋本身自己估值咧好多嘅。咁咧就但係又得到好多間大型嘅投資基金同意呢一單交易啦。不過咧就 Google 咧都應該唔會出售㗎啦。咁好啦，點解要買 Chrome 咧？就係 Chrome 咧擁有30億個嘅活躍用戶，同埋全球60%以上嘅瀏覽器嘅市佔率。咁如果係咁少啫咩？嗱咁即係呢個 Perplexity 揾㗎啦。咁 Perplexity 就話啦，而如果買咗 Chrome 咧，就可以令到 Perplexity 咧係大幅提升 AI 搜尋領域嘅競爭力，可以直接對抗 Google、OpenAI 同埋 Meta。咁其實 Perplexity 咧都有自己一個瀏覽器嘅叫 Comet 咁樣就，但係應該暫時就唔係話好流行啦。好啦，咁樣咧亦都係應承咗話，即係個底層開源咧都係一個開源嘅，2年之內咧會投資30億美金，亦都唔會咧更改呢個預設，即係一個預設即係市場嘅用戶咧你可以自己揀係咪預設 Chrome 嚟到做預設瀏覽器即係如果你用 Google 嘅服務咁樣啦。咁咧就Google 咧其實就住呢個反壟斷咧係做緊個上訴嘅咁所以咧都仲係有排搞啦呢件事。咁咧就但係咧如果成功嘅話咧 Perplexity 就覺得咧係會重塑全球網絡嘅搜尋同埋瀏覽器嘅生態。呢個 Perplexity 嘅收購咧，呢個提議咧，其實就係話咧係向法官表明，一旦佢真係要逼令 Google 要剝離 Chrome 嘅話咧，其實市場上邊咧已經有潛在買家。咁其實咧就除咗 Perplexity 之外咧，之前 OpenAI 啦、 Yahoo 啦嚇等等咧，都其實表示過咧對 Chrome 咧係好有興趣嘅。嗱，雖然咧就 Perplexity 咧就冇講明佢融資嘅來源啦，但係已經話咧有好多基金咧就願意 support 佢啦。咁咧嗱，呢一間公司成立咗3年，而家咧佢就已經融資咗大約10億美金。咁中間嘅投資方咧係包括有 Nvidia 啦，同埋軟銀啦。最近一次嘅估值咧係140億美金。咁再早啲咧，其實 Perplexity 咧亦都有提出過咧要競購 TikTok 嘅美國業務嘅。好啦，咁啊到底呢一個背景係點咧？成立咗3年，竟然提出一個比自己估值更加高嘅價去到收購一個蛇吞象，一個老大哥，咁咩料咧？咁樣，咁我其實一路都想揾嘅，一路都冇啊嘛，乘住今日咧就揾。係呢位，咁咧就係Perplexity 嘅老闆啦嚇，咁咧就佢咧係聯合創辦人同埋 CEO， 90後嚟嘅咋，真係好有，即係好後生，好有活力嚇，好有前途。94年喺印度出生嚇，咁咧就喺印度嘅理工學院咧就讀完本科同埋碩士之後咧就去咗加州大學做讀 PhD。咁佢咧就創辦Perplexity 之前咧做過 OpenAI， 做過 Google Brain。同埋 DeepMind 嚇，咁咧就去到2022年就創立咗 Perplexity 嘅，亦都係得到咧 Jeff Bezos 嘅投資者嘅支持，就好有影響力啦。呢一段咧係 Perplexity 講嘅，即係要讚下佢個老細啦。咁我都覺得係好有即係好有遠景嘅一個90後啦。即係而家90後即係都係好有前途，即係唔係話哇全部呢個世界俾晒啲老餅霸住晒嘅。其實如果你夠叻咧，你3年之內都可以咧。收購，你提出收購已經好型啦，係咪先？好啦，嗱，呢個就係講長咗，我哋翻去咧睇翻個股價先。好啦 ，Google 咁啊，但係 Google 冇咩影響啦，當然。Circle 啦 ，Circle 琴晚個收市咧就升咗1%，但係我哋要睇個分時圖咧就真係誇張。佢其實開市嗰下咧升成1成幾嘅，哇！以為個業績勁，咁啊好啦，一片美好啦咁樣。咁但係咧。係一路跌嚇，你話佢獲利又好咩都好啊，估值太高啊，佢都仲係蝕緊錢啊，點樣即係上市以嚟咧都仲係太升得太多啊咁樣。總之收市咧就跌咗1%，咁而即精彩個位咧就係佢收市之後就出咗個話要配新股同埋舊股新舊一齊配，咁咧就於是個股價咧就喺盤後而家夜盤咧就係接力係跌嘅，咁啊跌咗6%嚇。咁咧嗱，我哋又睇翻佢嗰個業績啦，呢個 Circle 嘅業績嚇，佢上市以嚟公布嘅第一個業績，收入咧其實咧係強勁增長嘅嚇，個總收入同埋儲備嘅收入咧同比增長係有53%，就去到咧呢一個658億美金。主要咧係受到咧嗱，佢哋就係發行呢個 USDC 噶嘛，因為咧 USDC 個流量咧係大幅增長，就推動咗個收入咧強勁增長。咁但係咧其實佢哋仲係蝕緊錢嘅，即係如果以嗰個純虧損嚟計，淨虧損咧係4.82億美金，咁咧其中咧係有5.91億咧係非現金嘅費用，咁呢一個咧可能大家如果聽香港啲 IPO 咧，特別啲科技股咧都好常見嘅啦，就係 IPO 就產生一啲咧非現金嘅費用，一次嘅啫嚇，咁啊其中咧呢個5.9億裏邊咧有4.24億咧係股權激勵嘅費用啦，咁所以咧就變成佢第一份嘅業績咧好多時都會有見到係蝕錢。但係又賺緊錢嚇，呢個財務表現嘅嚇，咁所以呢，我哋撇除咗。我哋咧如果淨係睇個 EBITDA 咧，我後邊有冇咧 ？EBITDA 係啦，呢度。咁佢咧呢一個季度咧係增長2%嘅，咁就係有1.26億美金，係超過市場預期嘅。顯示佢哋咧即係撇除咗嗰啲非現金嘅財務嘅即係因素之後咧，佢哋嘅核心業務盈利能力咧係穩定嘅。好啦，嗱，另外咧後邊仲有個total revenue 唔係呢個。後邊呢個係 circulation 呢個，咁咧 USDC 啦，個流量係快速擴張嘅。而家個流量咧有613億美金，同比係激增90%嘅。咁啊再去到嗱呢個去到6月底止啊嘛。咁如果去到8月10號嘅話咧，即係而家13號啊，即係去到上個星期咧，就唔止613億啦，就去到652億美金添。 而且呢個市場份額咧係繼續係一個穩步向上啦。而家佢哋佔穩定幣嘅市場份額咧係2.8%嘅，咁啊同比咧係多咗595個點子啦。但係如果你睇呢個市場份額，我睇下先，應該睇呢個啦咁，即係嗱呢個佢嘅市場份額咧而家係有2.8%啦。嗰個流通量係613億美金，咁咧，但係如果比起呢個係整體市場，呢個 USDC 第一位咧仍然係USDT 啦，同埋咧即係仍然係遠遠落後，個 gap 咧其實都相當之大嘅嚇。不過就佢有個空間啦嚇，即係個成個餅一齊帶啦嚇。咁啊嚟緊個業績指引。咦冇喎？點解先講？嗱，業績指引管理層咧就預計 USDC 嘅流通量咧個複合年增長率咧會有成40%嘅。今年嘅收入指引咧係7500至到850千萬美金。咁咧就即係睇下嗰個數據會唔會？其實咧佢係賺緊錢嘅嚇。咁嗱但係咧個股價咧響夜期唔係夜收市後嘅交易時段，同埋而家夜盤係急挫成6%咧，就係因為佢哋咧計劃發行1000萬股嘅股票，其中200萬股係公司售股，然後咧就係800萬股就係股東售股嚇，即係所以咧係即係融資加套現嘅骨水嘅。咁其實佢哋咧就冇耐之前先至係做咗 IPO 啫，咁啊又掠骨水啦嚇，咁啊就當時係應該係今年嘅6月2個月鬆啲嚇，當時咧就係31蚊嘅上市價，用咗2個星期就升到上接近300蚊嘅高位。咁比起300蚊個高位咧，其實而家腰斬咗噶啦。但係咧，如果比31蚊嗰個上市價咧，都升咗幾倍嚇。咁就因為大家呢段時間咧，就中間又有嗰個Genius Act 嗰個法案通過啦，大家對於嗰個 crypto 市場個熱情又翻嚟啦，咁亦都有減息嘅憧憬啦，應該係利好個 risk on 嘅氣氛嘅。咁但係咧，一來就估值仍然係相當之高啦，二來咧就佢啱啱就發嗰個發新股舊股嗰個計劃啦，三來其實就我哋一開始已經講，而家係減息嘅憧憬。咁減息咧，對於佢哋嗰個收入咧係會有直接嘅影響嘅，因為主要咧就揸住啲短債啦嚇，啲好短期嘅工具。咁如果減息嘅話咧，係即係佢哋收少咗息，咁所以咧嚟緊嘅業績咧就要睇下減息對佢哋影響係點啦。咁咧，另外提一提咧就係 bullish 啦，今晚咧就會喺美國嗰度掛牌嘅。而家市值咧就估計係50億，計劃出售3000萬股，發行區間咧就係32至到33蚊美金。咁所以咧就大概個市值咧係50億美金。咁呢一隻bullish 咧就我哋琴日就詳細講咗啦，就 Peter Thiel 有早期嘅投資，然後貝萊德啦同埋 Cathy Wood 咧都會喺 IPO 嘅時候咧就再認購多2億美金嘅股份。第一季仲係虧損嘅嚇，舊年係有盈利嘅。咁咧另外就佢哋提交俾 SEC 嘅上市文件咧，就估計今年嘅第二季咧會有1億嘅美金嘅淨利潤。咁佢哋主要咧就揸住crypto 嘅資產啦，包括有 Bitcoin 啦，一啲以太幣啦嚇。咁咧就如果呢啲 crypto 升咧，就利好公司業績，而且佢哋有 Condex 啦嚇，係啦，咁就有啲即係 data 嘅數據，係啦，咁所以今晚都係要睇下大概1-2點佢開市之後，即係真正嘅 IPO 價嘅時候咧，會個升勢係點樣啦？另外咧就仲有隻 CoreWeave 嘅，琴晚有業績嘅。佢業績之前收市咧就升咗6%，咁咧就係我睇下先，係啦，就升。
唔係睇股票，唔係識呢啲，即係睇到呢啲睇到暈晒啊！我好中意呢個 channel 㗎，因為咧，你知我又好學啊嘛，我啲人嚇，咁自己又唔係好識嘅，咁就睇完之後咧，佢就我話唔係好中意嗰啲好古板、好悶啊講嘢嗰啲 channel 啊嘛。但係呢個咧好有趣、好地道啊！我會覺得非常地道，俾我哋啲 普通人咧都可以明白到佢講乜嘢。當然啦，一睇到呢啲圖表咧，就真係暈晒，即係要有啲背景㗎啦，即係一到圖表。但係佢喺一間公司基本一啲概念咧佢都講得好清楚嘅。咁咧頭先佢有講到穩定幣嘅，咁USDC 同 USDT。咁咧而家 USDC 咧就係呢個 circle 啦，就呢個就係同我呢個 Perplexity 有關㗎啦。Hello from USA California. Yes. 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 San Gabriel Valley. Yes. I'm from San Gabriel Valley. Yeah. California first 咁咧呢個咧，咁呢個睇住圖表咧當然暈晒，但係佢講得好清楚嘅。咁佢有在上一集咧，唔知上一兩集我都有借過佢講關於穩定幣嘅俾大家。咁因為咧就更加可以俾大家清楚咧，就佢講到穩定幣有幾穩定咧，其實咧都幾穩定嘅，我覺得啦。同埋而家咧你下邊 description 啦，即係 description 嗰度完咗 ，description 係要撳呢度嘅。喺而家 live 緊嗰時咧，等陣先係撳呢度上邊咧有3點，你撳落去佢 description， 咁就可以去到 description， 跟住係落到去最下邊咧，就係有個link， 你拎入去 Coinbase， 拎咗去 Coinbase 之後咧，就開個 account， 存20蚊入去美金講緊美金存咗20蚊入去之後咧，咁就大家你又有30蚊美金，我又有30蚊美金，佢嗰30蚊美金咧就自動同你放入去 Bitcoin 㗎啦。咁放咗入去 Bitcoin 之後咧，你變咗喺呢度有獲得30蚊美金，佢自動同你買咗 Bitcoin 嘅，但係咧你可以咧再 convert 去你其餘你中意嘅虛擬貨幣咁唔係梗咗一定你啲係嘛？梗咗你一定要買 Bitcoin 咁解咯。但係佢30蚊送俾你係送喺 Bitcoin 個 level Bitcoin 嗰邊嘅，咁你之後如果你話我就冇所謂啦，30蚊由佢喺入邊咯，咁由佢咯。你唔中意咪呢個咧就係呢個就係投資嚟嘅，就唔係買賣嚟嘅，即係唔係短線嘅嘢嚟嘅。我係即係呢個方式咧，我係鼓勵人咧，尤其是越後生越好。開咗個 account， 有人攞咗30蚊啦，自己有20蚊啦，咁就有50蚊放咗入邊先啦。跟住之後咧，同佢申請一張 debit card。申請張 debit card 之後咧，即係當然你要存錢你個 Coinbase 啦。你存咗錢入去啦，仲係有4% 利息嘅喎，一年年利息有4% 嘅。OK， 所以咧，譬如話你放1000蚊，譬如話你每個月你都有1000蚊要碌卡㗎啦，咁你咪開咗呢張 Coinbase 就放1000蚊入去。跟住你有好多帳單所有嘢咪用嗰個嚟 pay 咯。pay 完之後咧，就有0.5% 就買落去任何一個你選擇嘅 Bitcoin 入邊㗎啦，就自動㗎啦，你唔使煩㗎啦。0.5% 咁少，但係如果你話你會用好多嘅話咧，你就可以即係 subscribe 佢有個唔知好似20蚊 Coinbase plan 嘅20蚊嗰個，跟住嗰個咧就會有俾4% 你添，係嘛？但係你每個月俾20蚊咯，咁睇下值唔值得咯，睇下你用唔用得夠多咯，你用得夠多咁嗰20蚊咪抵咯咁你嗰個條數咁用得唔夠多咁咪當即係呢個世界幾時都係咁噶啦，越有錢嘅只會越有錢你冇錢嘅咪慢慢儲咯，咁樣咯。咁冇錢嘅話咪開張卡咁買嘢咁咪慢慢儲喺入邊咯。但係當然啦，你做翻20年、30年嘅話咧，我諗都嗰個數目咧都幾可觀嘅，可以咁講但係你講緊係你唔使錢嘅喎嗰啲 即係唔係人哋唔使錢，係你唔使錢啊！即係嗰啲 credit card 公司，即係本來嗰啲手續費咧就俾咗 Visa Master 噶嘛，嗰啲噶嘛，而家呢個手續費就俾咗呢個 Coinbase 咁樣咯。咁 Coinbase 又俾翻啲你咁樣啫嘛。即係呢個就係嗰個資本主義嘅優點嚟嘅嚇。咁頭先講 Perplexity 啦，講完 Perplexity 咧，其實仲有一樣嘢都要再講嘅。我唔知我有冇做圖出嚟，唔記得咗做圖出嚟啦。其實咧做俾呢個睇就得，俾呢個等陣啦。呢個即係嗰個 Perplexity 咧，就係一種關於都係佢嗰個理據啊，佢嗰個理據就係如果當法庭要判Chrome Google 啦，即係反壟斷即係壟斷啊，話佢壟斷啦，告佢壟斷，咁佢要反壟斷嘅話就，因為我哋有反壟斷法㗎嘛。咁話壟斷，咁啊要去即係焗佢賣出嚟嘅話咧，咁啊想話俾人知咧，我有錢同你買㗎咁樣咯嚇。不過呢有300幾十億就真係濕碎咯。而家講緊啲大公司300幾十億真係閒錢嚟嘅，對佢哋嚟講係嘛？你睇佢哋啲出入嗰啲係嘛，真係唔可以同我哋啲相比咯。所以我哋個眼光咧，個眼界咧就唔可以用我哋呢啲眼光去睇佢哋嗰啲 transaction 但係咧亦都要學點樣用佢哋嘅眼光去睇個 transaction。OK， 呢個係要學噶啦，因為咧就叫做小心眼成日睇住即係成日會諗呢啲有錢人咧係壞人咁樣咧，咁你又唔使旨意發達，你成世做窮人都得噶咁有錢人係經過好多努力，好似呢條僆仔咁，其實佢都好聰明、好勤力讀書，識即係佢掌握到咁細個寫咁多咁啲 program， 開間咁嘅公司啦佢唔係冤枉得嚟噶嘛，佢真係努力得嚟噶嘛，咁佢得翻嚟嘅成果，佢自己去享受點樣運用係佢嘅事噶嘛。咁社會主義就唔得嘅，睇唔過眼嘅你發咗達咧就一定唔好噶啦，一定係壞人嘅但係你窮嗰陣時咧，佢又唔鳩理你嘅 ，OK 就係咁好似我咁而家好彩我都算有班貴人喺旁邊有啲貴人咁樣都一路都即係我啲貴人就唔係有錢咯如果你話啲貴人，我啲貴人係好有錢佢咁係嘛幾嚿水一個月，Dennis 你去做呢個 YouTube 啦，唔緊要我撐你。即係啲人課金又好係嘛，俾錢又好咁但係好多人都有理冇理㗎啦，好多我朋友都一聽到話我開我呢個 YouTube channel 佢有理冇理，我有 like 㗎，我 subscribe 咗個 like 㗎啦。但係佢哋即係講真，個個都忙，我都明白㗎嘛，個個都忙，個個都有唔同嘅事。即係之前我以前講過有個歷史線嗰樣嘢咧，其實係當每個人可以理解到。我講嗰個 concept 歷史線嗰個 concept 咧，你就會好多嘢你都會睇得開㗎啦，因為你知道每個人有條歷史線，久唔久有時會碰撞，有時會分開，咁有時會交叉咁樣嗰啲咁嘅嘢啦。總之咁就大家要去睇翻咧，你上去我個 channel 或者你去嗰個 playlist 你碌好快睇到㗎啦。講關於歷史線，因為個 concept 係都幾複雜啊！我同溫博士喺度傾，溫博士都話幾難講我都覺得係幾難講，幾難將呢個概念即係俾人哋明白，跟住明白不特止，仲要明白點樣運用咧，就係呢個亦都係非常困難嘅一個工作。咁我哋而家都係一個 mission 啦，喺度逐步啦。咁頭先你係講開 Perplexity 呢樣嘢嗰陣時咧。就係講關於反壟斷啊嘛，其實我哋自由市場咧最好噶啦大家隻抽隻即係當然啦，有錢幾時都係抽贏啲細嘅，大食細噶啦。但係 所以你頭先嗰個姐姐咧就講得好有趣係嘛？細嘅食翻大都仲得㗎嚇，所以而家佢話，但係如果真係一個唔覺意啊，一個唔覺意，法庭咧就真係咧話，嘿 Google 你唔得啊，你咁樣嚇嘅話啊，佢真係要賣 Chrome 出嚟嘅話咧，呢條僆仔可能有限㗎啦嚇，因為個個睇佢本身佢而家佢都已經用緊 AI 嘅嚇。佢有埋 Chrome 呢個 AI 仲不得了係咪？我哋而家係用 Quark 噶嘛，我哋要 download 個 app， 你可以喺網上邊用 browser 去用佢哋嘅AI 啦。但係而家頭先佢示範嗰個姐姐示範都係用 WhatsApp 嘅啫嘛。你話幾犀利嚇？所以如果佢俾咗個 Chrome， 佢係可以有 AI 功能嘅，仲不得了嚇。咁佢當佢梗係好多。投資者都想投資俾佢嗰度啦。如果攞到嘅話，即係而家佢話，譬如話而家340幾345個 billion 咁樣嚟計，跟住可能 Google， 實在真係太平嘅，咁我話要係嘛700億係嘛，或者要700億咁樣900億咁樣嚟計啦，咁樣譬如啦。我諗好多投資者都制啊，即刻掠反應，即刻俾錢呢條友啊，因為呢條僆仔真係好醒啊，係嘛？90後喎大把錢度啊！即係而家 Elon Musk 都係走緊去邊，即係後期㗎啦已經，即係都老啦50零啦嘛已經，都就嚟都50幾㗎啦嘛，因為係50幾好後生，但係50幾你同個20幾嘅冚嚇。拳怕少壯啊，大佬！電腦都係一樣嘅啫，同埋佢所以咧好多嘢咧都即係唔可以咁老定，好多嘢都變緊嘅，即係唔可以咧墨守成規嘅啲樣樣即係每日都好多嘢新鮮嘅嘢發生緊，除非你係做即係唔喺地球住嘅，同埋你可能真係已經退休啦，你就係。7日掛住即係7日咧，就係只係打麻雀啊、去玩啊、去 relax 啊、去遊埠啊，即係你啲退休人士嘅咧，咁可以真係唔使理嘅，你都唔使用 smartphone 啊，你用翻以前嗰啲 flip phone 咧，係嘛就得添啦已經嚇，不過唔得，即係都要用 smartphone 嘅，因為而家多數都人用短信啊嚇。你係長者，你都要識用短信啊！如果唔係，你啲孫揾你唔到，你想揾啲孫係揾唔到，你唔用短信。同埋而家有 WhatsApp 嗰啲好方便啊，因為你係可以講嘢噶嘛，你留言噶嘛，即係喐下留言，你今晚翻唔翻嚟食飯啊？水袋屎袋刨，你翻唔翻嚟食飯啊？咁你可以用 WhatsApp 嗰個留言功能噶嘛咁啊。所以都要有個 smartphone 嘅，咁不過唔使好，即係唔使 download 好多 app 咯，係得嗰幾個 app 就夠咯。而家如果我媽仲喺度咧，就一定 download 晒啲嗰啲老虎機嘅啦即係得閒咧就喺度碌下老虎機咁，我覺得，因為一個娛樂咧對啲長者退休人士嚟講係咪先啊？即係好多唔同嘅嘢嘅，即係每個退休人士有佢每個退休人士嘅唔同嘅興趣噶嘛。有一班人中意唱歌卡拉 OK 嘅，成日捉，好似話每個月都有一次嘅聚會，就喺間餐館度嘅卡拉 OK 嘅，就成班食飯唱歌就聚下咁樣，都有呢啲嘢，好多唔同嘅，即係各有各噶嘛所以每個人都有好多，每人都有條歷史線去自己，咁我哋只係有冇機會去接觸到嘅啫，接觸到咪接觸到咯，接觸唔到有啲人你都唔想接觸到啦有啲人你嗰條你知道，哇！你啲嗰啲歷史線你都唔想去，都唔想掂到咁啊頭先講緊啦反壟斷啦，而家咧阿 Sam Altman 咧就係個 OpenAI 個老細，其實咧嗰陣時咧係Elon Musk 打本俾 Sam Altman 咧去搞 OpenAI 嘅，咁之後咧就反咗面，因為點解咧？因為 Sam Altman 咧就唔贊成即係覺得應該要揾到錢嘅。咁 Elon Musk 已經有錢啦，所以佢本來咧就做一個 OpenAI， 諗住咧係唔收費，即係唔需要揾錢嘅，但係唔需要揾錢咯。 因為佢自己已經夠啦嘛。但係 Sam Altman 嗰啲就覺得係需要揾錢，呢個其中一個拗撬啦兩個。跟住咧就 regulation 啦，有 Sam Altman 咧就唔係好中意啲 regulation 嘅 AI regulation。咁啊 Elon Musk 咧就好主張要 regulate 嗰個AI 嘅。咁佢哋兩個而家咧即係嘈下嘈到告嚟告去添啦，即係反面嗰隻咧，嘈到反面嗰隻咧，即係唔係 Elon Musk 同阿 Trump 嗰啲啦，嗰個政治層面嘅嘢啦。但係而家聽聞，我希望咧佢唔好搞個 American Party 出嚟啦。咁 anyway 啦，咁而家咧就佢喺度即係煩呢啲煩死佢啦，仲要煩 Tesla 幾多嘢啊 ？X Quark 而家 Quark 又喺度嘈緊 Apple 唔拱佢上去想就係即係成日喺 Apple 嗰啲平台都冇得 download 都即係唔喺 number one 咯咁樣嗰啲啦，就覺得佢係撳住咗佢咯。咁而家係告緊 Apple 咯。咁 Elon Musk 告緊 Apple。咁呢單嘢咧就喺度就本來咧就係Neuralink 咧就係 Neuralink 係一個 chips 嚟嘅，係放喺個人個腦入邊嘅。咁放咗喺腦入邊咧，就可以將嗰啲本來個腦有啲功能冇咗咧，就有翻嘅。譬如話你本來係睇唔到嘅嘢嘅，咁咧因為個 chips 咧就可以幫你咧睇翻嘢，又或者你色盲嘅，咁你就有個 chips 就幫你。有問題就其實咧都有好多問題啦，但係而家仲即係初步咧都有做過研究啦。但係而家阿 Sam Altman 咧就覺得佢都應該要整間呢啲叫做 brain to computer 咁咧佢整一間咧叫做 Merge Labs 咁亦都籌到好多錢啦。咁又經 OpenAI 咁啊，結果咧 startup expect to value 850個 million 啦，即係8550億啦。咁呢個就係自由市場嘅事嚟噶嘛。如果你冇自由市場，好似某啲地方咁，阿公話事，阿爺話事咧咁咪又 different story 噶啦，就睇有冇關係，有冇親戚關係有冇回饋回購呢啲之類好多阿馬底嘢。但係呢啲唔係噶啦，呢啲公開公平噶啦，咁大家攤開晒嚟揮公開晒成個就喺度打噶啦，而家就喺度抽緊噶啦。咁我哋點樣抽啦？而家都未知邊個會抽贏抽輸嘅，因為啱開始啊。咁咧，咁當然啦 ，Elon Musk 嗰啲人唔衰得噶嘛，咁咪梗係同佢死過啦。咁其實各有各做嘅，因為咧我哋都唔想單一個研究所啦去做呢樣嘢。如果多幾個研究所去做呢樣嘢嘅話咧，即係將來真係呢個 chips 出嚟嗰個發展咧，我會覺得係會更加安全同埋更加好咯。因為而家咧 Elon Musk 出呢個咧，都俾人覺得佢有問題呢度有講啊。Neuralink is currently in trial with people who suffer from severe paralysis. It aims to allow them to control device with their thought. It raised a 600 billion Series E at 唔知點解6 billion years 呢個撳入去可以睇到啦，不過唔撳啦。At 7 billion value on June 但係佢即係呢樣嘢就係咯，佢係有出事㗎。出事嗰啲人攤咗啊，跟住即係當然啦，哇大佬你話玩個腦喎，係咪先？入邊咁多咁微細嘅 nerve 喺度，咁一下失手咁啊！咁而家咧就希望咧多一間公司就將佢做好啲咯。而家就未知會 Merge Labs 係唔係做得，會唔會做得好過 Elon Musk 咧 ？I doubt it 咯即係 Altman 唔係咁有料㗎，呢條友係好彩啊！嗰陣時啱好彩蹦得住啊 Elon Musk 搞 Open AI， 但係佢自己真係冇乜料啊！佢同另外一條友咧Perplexity 嗰條友咧係唔同嘅。Long before Silicon Valley become obsessed with the concept of叫做 artificial general intelligence 啊，即係呢啲就係你個用人腦入電腦啊，就叫做 AGI 啊，咁又叫做 the singularity 啊。咁啊 Elon Musk 用嘅咁咯，咁咧而家奧特曼嗰個 blog 就講關於 the Merge 咧就冇乜嘢特別啦 ，OK， 都係叫做多一個選擇同佢冚過咁樣咯，咁呢個咧就係最主要嗰個原因。跟住咧，大家咧記住啦，聽日咧星期五咧就要同我哋嘅總統祈禱，因為咧星期五咧就係星期五就係同普京傾噶，跟住咧下個星期二咧19號，下個星期二19號咧就會喺 Sacramento 嗰度咧就去抗議嗰個 AB495嘅。終於咧就而家開始多啲人討論呢樣嘢啦，開頭都冇乜人講啊，咁可能都係我自己辦事不力啦，我會覺得我自己應該花翻多啲時間去睇，關注翻呢啲咁嘅標啦，因為主要我自己都係做呢行啦，叫做想喺呢行，呢個係我 mission 嚟嘅。咁咧一定要關注翻，有時都係睇漏眼嘅。咁太多資料啊，太多資訊咧，有時太多標啦，同埋太多事啊。又好似係扭心又搞啲大嘢出嚟啊！咁好多嘢。咁而家呢個 AB495係咩咧 ？AB495咧就係無需要係親人親屬都能夠可以攞你細路嘅嗰個撫養權。咁佢嘅目的咧就係話，因為咧 ICE 咧就拉咗好多細路，唔係ICE 咧就拉咗好多家長。到啲細路放學嗰陣時咧，就啲細路冇家長接，呢個大話嚟嘅 ，OK？冇 data 冇數據 support 嘅一個大話嚟嘅嚇。咁佢咪借 LA Times 咪報咯 ，LA Times 咪揾個2打6做訪問係嘛？但係 ICE 冇啲 data， 全部冇啲 data， 你警局啊咩？你係嘛？你一個人唔見咗，跟住個細路，跟住因為個細路冇人接喎，會有細路冇人接。我哋咧一個細路嘅父母，跟住父母我哋之餘咧，仲要加多2個名嘅，可以去代接細路，所以 total 係可以有4個人接你個細路嘅。點解佢咁嘅設計咧？其實都好聰明嘅。你父母有時出去做嘢，兩公婆一齊做工，突然間兩公婆都有有時趕唔到翻去接，或者真係出咗意外咁樣。咁其餘咁學校咪會通知，通知第一個阿爸冇人聽喎，通知第二個，阿媽有冇人聽喎，咪通知第3個咯。如果4個一齊出去咧，就牙煙啲啦，係咪？就係即係叫做比較安全嘅方法嚟嘅，有4個人啦，係咪？咁學校變咗逐個打電話去叫，喂，點解你冇嚟接你細路啊？點解你冇嚟接嗰隻之類咯咁。咁而家咧就佢哋準備要做呢個 AB495，就會做呢樣嘢。咁希望咧大家，我自己本來想去嘅，就諗住咧，即係搭飛機咧，我覺得真係冇乜時間咯，我要1日來回啦，即日來回啦。咁我諗住搭飛機，哇！搭飛機要500幾蚊。點可能？我諗住頂晒籠200蚊，我就勉強搏一搏，即係做呢樣嘢咯。但係500蚊我話真係唔得，因為仲要食下成日 click 卡嘢噶嘛，再加埋咪600-700蚊嚇搞一搞。如果揸車啊，你因為揸車嘅話，你唔係飛機你都要食嘢㗎，大佬係嘛？去到Sacramento 都要食嘢㗎，大佬。即係咁咯。咁結果我就冇辦法，我去唔到啦。咁係唔知嚇，我就呼籲咗。喺啲群組度都有呼籲，叫啲人咧，如果可以去到嘅都去嘅。 咁啊呢啲冇勉強嘅，冇得強迫嘅。咁啊希望即係好睇下邊個有能力去到咯。咁啊繼續亦都喺星期二下個星期二嘅1點咧，佢就會喺 Sacramento 嗰個 State Building 外面咧就會集會。就當然啦 Jack Hibb 牧師Jack Hibb 牧師就主辦嘅，就叫做 Real Impact.US。Real Impact.US 呢個就係個網站，咁入邊有好多資料㗎啦。Jack Hibb 牧師佢哋要搞嘅，Jack Hibb 牧師佢哋一路都喺政治圈入邊咧都好活躍嘅。咁啊 Jack Hibb 牧師佢就會喺嗰度講一大堆嘢啦，例牌啦，通常呢個講下呢個講下都2個鐘㗎啦，你企跟住之後佢哋就會入去同議員助理啦，即係加州州議員助理去反映你嘅不滿對呢個提案 ，OK？ 咁佢咧啲議員就唔會喺嗰度，我哋加州議員好鬼懶嘅 ，OK？ 你係淨係識出糧嘅啫，咁佢唔會有人喺度見你嘅，但係佢會有班助理會喺度見你㗎啦，咁如果你真係咁巧，我哋共和黨議員就會喺嗰度咯。共和黨嗰啲人真係做工㗎嘛，啲民主黨唔係㗎嘛，民主黨係瞓上去咁，好似學錦麗嗰啲有啲唔係即係 actually 瞓啦，係嘛？都係叫做即係類似嗰啲啦唔係正常渠道上位啦。我哋啲共和黨真係抽翻嚟㗎，個個自己抽好似而家共和黨州長3個，其實有4個嘅，有一個我其實都幾熟下嘅，叫做 Daniel Mercury。咁但係佢嗰個勝數真係好弱，因為佢個知名度佢嗰個即係因為可能冇錢最主要係冇乜錢。咁咧你冇乜錢，咁你又谷唔起，跟住你仲要唔係佢同嗰啲 elite 咧就唔係好熟嘅，所以冇乜大財團去撐佢嘅。咁但係有另外3個呢，一個咧就係Riverside 嘅縣長啦，縣警長。一個咧就係 Steve Hilton， 佢就係以前嘅新聞播導員啦，而家就有自己嘅 YouTube channel podcast 啦咁咯。喂錢唔知噏乜啦，唔知噏乜柒 ，OK。Philanthropist Gomez Amigo。咁啦，咁仲有一個咧就係Chad Ann 就係牧師嚟嘅 Chad Ann 牧師所以有3位而家就喺度咁都係各自爬山，兄弟爬山人各自努力，各有各去揾支持者。咁但係問題咧，共和黨加州共和黨係得40%，過多咗啦，好似去到46% 最近咁就係得咁多啦。Put your glasses， see 咁咯，咁就好，咁就共和黨就係咁噶啦即係各自抽冇得瞓上去嘅，咁就唯有抽下，睇下到時咯。我亦都係或者都會將來我都會繼續再多啲資訊。即係之前我都有講過 Steve Hilton 啦，即係呢個算我係比較心水多少少嘅一個候選人啦。但係佢亦都係好多問題咯，好多缺陷啦咁3個都有缺陷嘅，我遲啲可能會同大家分析。咁仲有一樣嘢就講完咧，而家就已經講咗3個鐘頭啦，哇！我都好犀利喎不過3個鐘頭裏邊咧，我就多數咧都喺度播片，而家已經12點啦，咁多位可能都要瞓覺覺豬啦，等下先係啦。好啦，好多謝大家啦，好感激啦，今日又多咗好多訂閱啦，好多謝大家。咁到12點啦，咁差唔多小弟都要唔係休息，小弟唔係不務正業㗎，做 YouTuber 俾人話咧，啲人就話做 YouTuber 不務正業咁樣嘅咧。咁我有正職㗎，咁有正職之餘咧就要做呢樣嘢。 咁希望喺呢樣嘢咧就成為正職就係咁啦咁唔係一下子一步登天噶嘛。但係都我知道咧，如果呢個社會係俾社會主義壟斷咗嘅話咧，Dennis 第二日喺 YouTube 有一日成功咗咧，我都撲街嘅因為社會主義係將成功人士嘅得來不易嘅嘢咧攞走嘅所以我咧所以繼續要支持資本主義咁好多謝大家收睇啦，咁我哋留言就停咗啦 ，OK？ 咁睇下先，係仲有一樣嘢要報告嘅，就係聽日咧，我咧就唔係淨係得呢個天下知多啲嘅，我仲有一個叫美港天下嘅，就係另外一個 channel 嘅，另外一個 channel 咧，我頭先就 type 咗上去啊，之前我已經有 type 咗今日星期三啦已經，聽日聽日星期四就有請咗一位嘉賓，就退休嘅警察嚟同我哋講下加洛杉磯嗰啲治安問題佢就根本因為佢知佢有晒內幕，我唔知佢會爆幾多內幕俾我哋知啦。咁如果可以嘅話咧，就記得去訂閱埋美港天下粵語頻道全名叫做美港天下洛杉磯粵語頻道，嗰個咧就係Cyrus， 主要係 Cyrus 主持嘅。咁 Cyrus 就係聽日星期四佢就會俾啲題目我同埋佢內容嗰啲咁嘅嘢，聽日就會做直播請大家喺嗰邊咧亦都訂閱，咁聽日咧變咗好多人可以睇啦希望多啲人關注我哋個治安問題啦。咁多謝大家收睇，我哋下次再見，拜拜。